All right, so we're live. Chris Derose, Richard Heart,
What's up,
back
party
in full
people?
effect. So what are we talking about today?
Well, last night I'm living, for those that follow my everything, my Patreon, my Telegrams, whatever. I've been dealing with all the hurricane fallout. I've been living out of boxes. But last night you came to the Briar Patch, and you wanted to have a discussion, and I didn't have my gear out, and so we had a very one-sided discussion.
It's scary to hear about you having your gear out. That means something different in Australia, I think.
So yeah. In any case, I have my gear out now. So either I can take the itinerary or you can. I don't care which. But I think that the general rubric is effectively, how to put it. I think like analysis of each other's platforms is probably what the topic is. And I don't mind giving you yours and receiving mine. But it seemed like that was the intent from last night.
Sure.
And that would be a fun discussion.
Yeah. So when Chris talks about the Briar Patch, it's like his secret, asymmetrical, beneficial, like little place where good people and influencers go to do things that are cool that they wouldn't do out in public, I guess. And it's new, so it doesn't have critical mass yet, but he has high hopes.
Well, how many people do you have in your Discord right now? I'm trying to figure out that number.
Well, Discord is funny because it hides the actual members. So there's somewhere either 400 or 600 total, and then there's like 100. Then there's 100 live. But it is bad. Yeah. Like that. So my first point is, I'll go with the contentious stuff. Chris is a YouTube personality, and has been doing the
man.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you are.
I don't know what I am.
And then he's been doing that for a long time, and he's got a Patreon and followers, and he travels and he has a studio, and like he's doing the media personal thing. Like he's a YouTuber, and he's more than YouTuber. He's also got a Patreon, and he's also got a private chat, and he's also got, subscriber only content on Exotica. So you're doing all of the things that a normal personality does. And, I think that you want the same metrics that people in that space want. You want more followers, more mentions. If I go on Social Blade and look up your earnings and views and subscribers and comments and all that stuff, you want all those things to go up, because that's the only easily measurable metric that you have to tell whether like the work you're putting in is.
No, working. I mean, here's the thing: is that like I'm here on this planet and I've got time to spend, and I'm in a fortunate enough situation to where I can spend that time in many different ways, and I do the YouTube thing because I think that one of the ways it's probably worth spending one's time is making changes in a way that I mean, I get this from you, frankly. Well, I didn't get it from you, but like it's something that certainly you've espoused, at least in our first interview, that at some level furthering your own culture, your own values, is a noble pursuit, or at least a worthwhile one. And I think that anybody watching this would probably agree with that. And like I go back and forth, it depends what mood I'm in. There's some weeks when like I think that I would like to get the numbers up, and then there's some weeks when like the numbers are like at a point where I'm happy with them, and I want to get to know the community at that level, and then the cycle kind of repeats itself, But I think too that like the numbers themselves aren't necessarily the best metric, because like influence is really what we're looking for, and I think certainly in years past, the influence of the influencers was a significantly more lucrative position for a person to be in. And I often feel that way now. So I not to confuse the issue too much, but that's kind of where I would describe the situation.
So like my summary is that if you look at crime statistics, as soon as you start measuring a metric, the metric becomes useless, because people start gaming the system. So
that's not always true. I mean, it's true to the degree that like the knowledge isn't asynchronous, right? So like if I know your point exactly, but it's not a universal truth. We do this all the time. Asymmetry is frankly the biggest thing I'm working on right now. Like that is my big project at the moment,
I think you're focusing on a tactic instead of a strategy. So here's my thesis, right?
What does that mean? Explain that.
I think you're throwing away your talent into the wrong place. And I think that the life has been lost to the metrics and the fake fame and the false fame, which is entirely useless. And so I'll put it to you this way, and this is something I said on the Discord earlier. If you took all of the social capital that I've built by, you know, putting 250,000 words on paper, taking a year or two to organize it with help from other people, and that no one barely reads it, right? So like that effort for the most part was wasted. YouTube channel, did a video a day, 21 videos trying to improve people's lives, give them, advice on how to be happier, healthier, have better relationships. None of those videos even gets views or clicks or virality from, the 40,000 views on a Roger Ver interview or the 30,000 views on other stuff. So there's like no crossover, and there's no monetization, and there's no virality and no life of its own. And if you like measure the actual like payment to me out of everything that I've done socially, minus some great emails that I get about people that say I've changed their life, except for those emails, it has been net loss, massively net loss. So
hold on, I think I'm missing something, because like when we started this conversation, certainly yesterday, the views themselves, more specifically watch time, wasn't necessarily the ideal per my case. And I don't know if you agree with that or not. It sounds like you do.
I'm saying that there is no, I don't care what any of the metrics say. You can't buy a cup of coffee with any of this bullshit. You're giving away your abilities and your skills for free to the internet, and the internet doesn't care to pay in return.
Well, I don't necessarily. I don't necessarily. I mean, like, here's the core of it too. Like, I appreciate that you think I have talent. I actually don't agree with that. I think most people would disagree with that. I would hope. The truth of it is, like, I look at your platform, and it's like your definition of success is like so different than mine, and I don't begrudge that in you. I think that's fine. There was a time personally when I shared a lot of those values, and I found as I've gotten older, doesn't mean that it's mature, doesn't mean that it's right, but as I've gotten older, my metrics for success have changed drastically. Perhaps because I even like achieved it at some level, at least in my own degree of standard.
Well, how do you define success, and how do you think I do?
I think
I don't really care if you like guess mine or not, but
yeah, no, I mean, I think that your notion of success is very money contingent, and like I think that as I look at your platform, there's all of these hooks, and I can enumerate them. Everything from like your notion of best, like this concept of best, which I think exists independent of opportunity cost. I think that your sort of like fetishization of the Bitcoin price probably is also like a big part of that. And I think that your ICO as well is like a big part of that. And like for me, I find money to be like so meaningless in my endeavors these days, which I don't even know that I'd advocate that for people, but that's like me. I think success for me at this point is making a change, of like an influential change. And it's not necessarily even like a specific change. It's just the ability to make changes. Like that's a personal goal that I've been working on with a lot of other people who I think find that interesting, at least. Like that is my definition of success at the moment. And that's what I think yours is as well.
Well, okay. So I think for the majority of people, more money is worse. For the majority of people, once, and this has been well studied, once you hit about $75,000 to $100,000 a year, that is the happiest that you'll get from having more money. And then anything beyond that, it could make you a little bit happier, but there's also like a lot of volatility that will make you a lot less happy, right? So let's take, for instance, today. If you were a old coiner and sitting on a lot of Bitcoins, and then you watch the value drop 30% or 25% or whatever it is, your pain is in millions of dollars, right? Whereas somebody that didn't have enough money to buy in at all doesn't have that pain. And you don't have to avoid people asking you for money, and you don't have to like, there's a lot of freedom that comes from not having to protect wealth. And there's a lot of freedom that comes from not having to protect things or fix things or maintain things. So I don't believe that having tons of money is actually better for most people. It's better for some people, and it might not be better for you. Now, I'll tell you who it's better for, right? If you have a lot of money, you get to control what other people do with their life, whether you want to or not. So if you put your money and your nest egg in a savings account in a bank, that bank will then give that money to other people at their discretion. So you're taking your financial energy and influencing other people's lives through proxy based on who you choose to invest with. And if you're a business person, as I advocate people become, because I love businesses, I've been a serial entrepreneur my entire life from elementary school, like selling candy to kids in the class and selling like stamps and postcards out of the back of a magazine. And, when I was 12, like on the way up, if you invest your money in your own business and you have employees, you decide when they come to work, what they focus on, where they exist, whether they're hot, whether they're cold, who they get to interact with, who they'll end up being romantic with due to just proximity issues. The amount of control you have over other people's lives as an entrepreneur is massive and underestimated. And if you've got a better belief system and you're a better boss and like are doing better things in your business than other business owners, you're making the world a better place, not just for the people that interact with your business, but for the employees that work for you. So if you choose not to have a lot of money, you're choosing to let everyone's lives be controlled by people that are not you. And if you're a dickhead and you're bad at being a boss and you're bad at having a business, it's better that you're not a business owner, because you'd make the world a worse place, clutter it with ads that don't work, clutter it with products that break, screw over your employees with, terrible work conditions, But if you're a smart guy and you're not a dick, then it's really good to have influence over other people's lives and focus and patterns of behavior and, things that are running around in their head. It's better that you have that than the dumber, worse person. So if you're more wholesome and better than other people, then you should try and lead and you should try and have an impact and you should try and influence. And if you're a piece of crap, I hope all your memes fail and go into the forced meme section of, a wiki.
I mean, all the business stuff is fine and good. I just, I've done that in my past. To the degree that I'm successful is certainly debatable. I don't really care to like take that accolade. I mean, I haven't had like a regular job since I was a kid either. It's been a long time.
See, that's not better, right? Like the problem is I was in a Tony Robbins event, and he said to everyone in the audience,
I'm shocked you went to one of those. Actually, I've never been to
all of
one.
them. I've been to his island. I've spent 60 grand on Tony Robbins stuff.
That's wild to me. That guy seems like the antithesis of somebody that I would probably listen to, quite frankly. But
his stuff is 80% perfect, 20% bad, 80% perfect. And I can tell you the bad stuff and the good stuff.
I mean, here's the thing though, like Richard, like you get in these moods sometimes where like you come into our channel, and I continually try to make a team effort these days out of people who I sense will be influencers of a degree, to find like a common ground of core issues that we can all agree on and change the world by an inch rather than demand a mile from a smaller subset of people. And like, yesterday you came in there, you declared that Telegram was bad, which is really funny.
All like, Telegram. Every Telegram channel I've ever been in has been bad.
Yeah. Well, what does that tell you though? Because like for anybody who's watching this,
I'm in the wrong channels is what it tells me.
Or that like for anybody who's watching this, who does use Telegram, that your like opinion is a little bit removed from what their notion of convenience is in terms of like how they spend their day. Like, why don't you develop for the audience what it is that is quote unquote bad, particularly in the sense of Telegram. Yeah.
Yeah. So it goes back to the Tony Robbins thing.
Okay.
He looked out into the audience and he said, okay, every one of you guys has a limiting belief. Some of you think it's too late to start. Some of you think you're too old. Some of you think you're too weak. Some of you think you don't have the time. Some of you think you're not smart enough. Everyone's got an excuse for why they can't do what they know they should do with their life. And I'm thinking to myself,
okay, keep going. No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep going.
I'm like, that's not true. I got all the opportunity in the world. None of that shit's true. None of that at all. Like I'm young. Like everything was great. And he said, now you guys that don't think you have any limiting beliefs, you just found your first limiting belief. And I was like, I don't understand. What does that mean? You guys that don't think you have a limiting belief, you just found your first limiting belief. It took me a while. I was like, oh shit. I do have limiting beliefs. I just didn't realize it. It was okay to be chubby. It's still okay to be chubby. But is it? Is it okay to be chubby? Like if your mission is to like survive long enough to see longevity escape velocity, to not be the last guy that dies of some stupid disease that gets cured the next day, to like, you know, be more attractive, have better relationships, faster, stronger, take up less space, be more comfortable on an airplane, have your teeth grind down less from chewing food, spend less time wiping your ass because you crap less, spend less time waiting in queue for food. Like I could go through like a million reasons why it'd be great to be not fat, right? But I'm still fat. So the trick, the magic is understanding that whatever standards and like rules you have for, oh, it's okay. It's okay that you're not rich. It's okay that you're not working that hard. It's okay that you don't have any product that you could point at and go, look what I built. Look at what better way the world is. You know, it's okay that I don't have any like students or teachers or evergreen content. Like you got to make a lot of it's okays before you realize you're wasting your fucking life. And I wasted my life for 12 years. I was addicted to video games, traveling the world, doing nothing. And I could do anything. And I wasted 10 years of my more, a lot of years, right? Like 10 to 12, maybe it's already up to 14. I don't even want to count. Well, I started traveling in 06. It's 11 fucking years, right? Now I threw my life away for 11 years because my standards were too low. It was okay for me to waste all my time playing video games. And I see you and tons of other people on the internet doing the same shit, right? And like making memes isn't that great. It's what kids do. And playing games and trolling people isn't that great. It's what kids do. And even getting Donald Trump into the White House based on memes, did it really make the world a better place? You know? And that's like the highest thing that memes have ever achieved, and bullshittery on the internet. And like, look at me. I spend all day shilling for Bitcoin about how amazing it is and how great it is. And what effect was I able to have today? Right? Like what percentage of the price was I able to prevent from stupid mode? And by the way, as far as the Bitcoin price goes, the Bitcoin price is whatever we fucking think it is, right? The majority of the Bitcoin price is speculative interest in what the future price will be. It's not because people are buying it to use it, right? 90+% is because people care about what it will be worth. And so getting people to focus on Wall Street coming, imagine how much it'll be worth when you can actually use it. When you ban things, the price goes up. Like all of like we're getting side chains, the technology is the best. Look, Bcash failed. We're getting free dividend drops. Getting people to focus on all those things, which are true and real and will move the price up, is super important because the price is the only thing that matters right now. I know it's easy to say, oh, well, you know, well, all these other things matter. No, they don't percentage-wise. The majority of Bitcoin's value is in its speculative value. And so when the price is up, it's worth more. And when the price is down, it's worth less. So I feel obligated to cancel out the other bullshitters talking their fucking book when they're short, because first, most people are long, not short. A small percentage of people are short. So the harm that's done by the price going down is much larger human consciousness-wise, because more people are long by holding than by being short, right? And the shorters also have counterparty risk, which isn't healthy for the whole ecosystem.
We're talking about Telegram right now. I just want to.
So we went from, so I think that you're upset by the things I say about how much Telegram sucks and how people are wasting their lives because it directly affects how you spend all your days. And I spend my days exactly as you do.
Well,
I have
hold
a
on.
private chat room.
I got a room full of people who are good people, who are fun friends, and who we spend the whole day together with. And you come in there and you tell them, you know, effectively that Telegram is bad, that memeing is bad. This is a democratic process by which a room decided this is how it wanted to spend its time. And you went in there and you made a value and moral declaration, which is kind of fine, but like to the end that you would declare.
I
I don't
earned
know that
that
you
right by
did.
living that
I
harder
don't.
than you guys. I meme harder than you guys do.
You
I
did that in your
produce more
head, though,
memes and
Richard.
put in more hours. No,
That's not the that's not the
check my
case
tweets.
that is objective or understood or believed other than in your own declaration.
No, measure it. Go look at your Twitter timeline and go look at your tweets and see how much time you spent in Photoshop. Then Control T, go to my Twitter timeline, click my tweets, see who's tweeted more, and see who's spent more time in Photoshop and who's spent more time creating memes and creating slogans and creating sayings. I have spent more time doing those things than you and your entire channel combined. I have earned the right to shit talk the behavior because I'm doing it more than you guys.
Or
I
you're just
know it's bad. I
or you're
know
just
it's not good because I'm
not
living it.
effective at it too. Like that quantity doesn't necessarily mean that in and of itself, like you have authority on the matter. Like I don't accept that time is necessarily an objective input. Nor do I accept that there's an objective like
No, but we could click the
preference
analytics on each
on what is
tweet. Like, if you
effectively
care,
of
like I can
value.
share a screen, my tweet, like fucking like. Would
Let
you
me see
rather
something
people
here.
shit talk memeing from people that don't do it, or would you rather hear from an expert? Like, would you rather hear about how bad games are from a person that doesn't play games, or from a person that's addicted to them?
I don't accept that you're like that you're an expert at memeing in the sense that it matters. I mean, look at your follower count. Okay, like I don't like to do this because it's a very complex thing, but you have less followers than me on Twitter. So like
I don't think I do.
You have 6,094 and I have 6,571. So
Okay.
while I think if we want to get objective, it's all fine and good, the world is significantly more nuanced. And here's another problem that I kind of see with a lot of your platform. And like, I'm trying to do a team building exercise with
So
you.
let's do this. Let's skip the identity shit, right? Like, you have a strong personality, I have a strong personality. Let's talk about just the ideas, right? So I'll say I suck, my channel sucks, my chat sucks, everything I do sucks. That's fine.
I like that. That's good. I feel the same way.
I truly don't care. I would care if it paid anything at all, or if it was viral at all. Then I would care. But since it's not viral and it's nothing but a time sink, I truly do not care. The sooner I can stop producing this content, the sooner I can build things that make the world better.
You also, by the way, may not have spent enough time doing it. You may have been year 1 into a year 4 plan, and that's often the case where like things have an exponential growth, but it's very slow at first, you know. And I mean, it
doesn't have to be. I'm used to getting in and out of the business in 2 years. Like, I'm used to having 100 employees in 2 years. Like, I'm used to.
Maybe that's a value assessment. Maybe that isn't objectively true. Maybe that's just Richard's values and morals.
Well, no, it's what every startup does. Like, every funded startup has to get traction quickly, or it was a bad investment. And
but is this a startup? Are these? Yeah. I don't think these are startups. I think that's a gross exaggeration of what, you know, a meme campaign is. I think a startup is more defined by the capital inflow and the business relationships and regulatory navigation and onwards and so on and so forth.
So let's pick one thing at a time, right?
Yeah.
I have already seen the end result of memeing and rating and being funny on the internet by posting and getting tons of karma on Reddit.
Is the president of the United States like included in that? Because I don't necessarily see it that way, but like the summary declaration, Richard, is like very like part of your platform. Like, you have a lot of silver bullets. Like, it's like a very oracle mentality whereby you declare the values that everyone around you will have without soliciting that from them.
Okay, so we'll build it from ground up. Does wasting time exist? And you're going to say no, and that's going to make you weaker. But let's play it out, right? You get chat. You want to watch this? Does wasting time exist?
Hold on. You're declaring values that like are your values. That is not. If the people watching this have a mind of their own, and some of them will agree with you, and some of them won't. And like,
well, let's ask them. Here we go. We have 300.
We don't have time for that. If we do that, we have to do a Twitter poll. And like, and by the way, I do those all the time because I take this issue like fairly like seriously, because I assume that I don't know.
I'll make the Twitter poll while you tell me whether wasting time exists as a concept.
Look, I started one already. I mean, like, let's take one. You want to take one that we already did, or do you want to start a new one? Because I did one based on our conversation yesterday. I think it was based on our conversation yesterday. But you'll notice that I'm like one of the guys that are doing these sentiment polls constantly, both in the Telegram and on Twitter. And I do it because I assume that my view of the world is not.
You know you're dodging the question, right? And it's
no,
a really
I'm not
simple
dodging the question.
No
What's the question? Do people waste their time? So I believe in wasting time.
Does wasting time exist? And if you can't answer that one, I'll just ask you, does waste exist?
I mean, it's a reductionist question. Like, clearly wasting time exists in the context of like a goal. but like, is like personal enrichment wasting time? And the answer, of course, is no. Is education wasting time?
Right.
No.
So your answer is no, wasting time doesn't exist.
No, it's a false dichotomy. Like you can't shoehorn that question into like a view that fits any and all situations. You have to put that in the context.
Is there any unrewarding behavior?
Is there any unrewarding behavior? Absolutely.
Eventually,
yes.
I'll get you to agree that better and worse exist. And I don't know why I've had to learn these strategies to do this.
No, I mean, I already agree that better and worse exist, but my point is that it's relative to like a value constraint or value system.
Yep.
Like,
so it's okay, a good fine. Thing everyone gets their value from the same places. Birth.
No, they don't. That's where I think that you're
It's a bell
incorrect.
curve. It's a bell curve.
Okay, fine.
It's codified in law. People go to jail based on these things.
I agree.
They're serious about it.
I agree for being within like, outside of like a few standard deviations of the mean, but that doesn't mean that there is a truth. That means that there is, and these bell curves change and shift over time. They are different
the Overton window
varying
doesn't
populations.
Move so much.
It sure does. Absolutely. Look at the issues 100 years ago compared to today. Look at the issues.
Yeah.
Hey, that's fine, but like
listen, if you have to appeal to 100 years ago, like it's.
Then look at a country other than the United States. Like, what is your demographic? Because like you look at like a lot of people outside the United States do not understand the diversity issue. But if you look at inside the United States, the diversity issue is huge right now. So
let's not get too far from the question.
It's not far. That is part and parcel with it. I mean, these are demographics.
I find it very hard to get some intelligent people to make a clear statement for some reason, right? So
because
my
that's
statement
the arrogance.
Is clear.
No, that's the.
I believe you can waste your time. I think it's actually very easy to waste your time, and I think most people waste most of their time. That's my position. I think it's very easy to understand.
I actually don't think most people waste their time. I think most people are actually making really good use of their time on average. They really do. I think most people are doing their best thinking. Like here's another thing too, Richard. Like, how arrogant is it to claim that like let's say you have and I believe this, a higher degree of metacognition, a higher degree of performance than most people. You would probably agree with that. But how do you build an audience of like people?
You don't. Audiences are worth nothing.
Well,
pay for someone else's audience.
I find that to be a value declaration. I think that audiences are very rewarding. I think you can serve your audience. And I think one of the ways you do that is by not being condescending about your own abilities. That would be my value.
Okay. So I give advice on the regular, particularly advice that I haven't been able to follow because I dream of being able to follow it, right? I should tell people, listen, you should be fit and healthy because everything's better. And I advertise that idea, but I don't follow it, right? So is that condescending to like tell people, listen, I haven't been able to do a thing, but it's a really important thing. So if you can, you should. I don't think that's condescending. I think that's healthy.
Well, it's condescending when you tell people that like they need to have this like pro-business attitude when maybe they have like kids to feed at home and they chose to have a family because that's the value that they wanted, and that prevents them from taking the same risks. Or maybe they have, I don't know, maybe they have like mental health issues, or maybe they're struggling, from like bad decisions they made when they were younger with like their finances. And like, that doesn't make them bad people. That just means that their life configuration is different.
So you've literally created a channel by which you attract people to spend time making funny pictures of ideas and then propagating them into the world. I don't
know that I've achieved that yet. I mean, I appreciate that you think so, but like that is not only the goal. The motive was the channel's motive. I asked the channel to vote for a theme, and I serve them, Richard. Like my attitude here is such that like I'm building a community, not as an oracle, but as a member of the community. And that's a big difference between your platform and my platform. And like I don't
have a platform.
You certainly do. You wrote a manifesto.
What is but no one reads it. Like no one fucking reads it. Does it matter? It's
okay to admit you're building a platform. I would admit that. I don't see the shame in that.
Okay. So here
you're also building an ICO. You're doing a token as well. Yep. That's a platform of many ways.
Yep.
Okay.
And I hope that it makes the world better. And I hope it makes me millions of dollars. I'd be happy with both of those things.
I would note that I could, and many people have asked me to, how to put it nicely, to
fuck
really
me up from having an ICO, right?
Yeah, basically. I mean,
better to fuck me up than give me advice on doing a good one. Thanks, guys.
I just want to do that to you, Richard. Like I see that your values are important to you. Honestly, too, I just don't give a fuck anymore. Like I don't. That's the other really. They've had to be honest. But like here's the thing, Richard. Like I see you trying to climb up the like social dominance hierarchy of Bitcoin, and that's great, and that's awesome. But like
For
you got to
why?
consider. I don't know why, but it is fun. I will say that. I mean, that is an easy answer, and I think if you're being honest, it's probably like a little gratifying, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like, I think that in doing so, I think that
So
you're missing out on an opportunity to work with others in a way that furthers Bitcoin.
no,
That would be my allegation.
okay. I don't know like why you don't believe me when I tell you I don't care. So I'll just say it like a couple more times and maybe it'll kick in. If I could like have more self-control and stop tweeting entirely and stop chatting one-on-one with people entirely and just generate evergreen content that was working while I was sleeping, the world would be a better place and my life would be better. And I wouldn't go to sleep feeling disappointed every night because I knew I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. So the only issue I have in my life, the only thing that isn't going really well is I should drop a couple pounds and I should spend more time building things that work while I sleep, like finishing the PDF, like finishing the book, like the million other things I have on the list, like a longevity fund, all that stuff. Those are the only things I care about right now because everything else is going really good, except I guess the Bitcoin price. So for some reason, you find it hard to believe me when I tell you that the worst thing going on in my life right now is the stuff that you think I really care about. You think I care about Twitter. You think I care about my Discord channel. These things are the worst things going on in my life right now. They consume all of my time and they give me nothing back in return. They're the worst things going on in my life. The less of them, the better.
It's a little weird because like you came into the Telegram telling people to start using Discord. Like there's an advocacy there. And I'm okay with that. And the discussion was also centered around why Discord was better than Telegram. So like it seems to me that you are in fact promoting that, and maybe that is something you need to work on, which I'm fine with. I don't really care. But like
go scroll up on my Discord and see how often I talk in it.
I even like your Discord. I wasn't in there as regularly now because I'm living out of boxes because of this hurricane. But I liked popping in there, and I don't begrudge you.
Like it's like surprisingly good. Like look, I literally put it up to talk with people after the Roger Ver thing, and then I just left it up. And that's it. Like I don't know why you think there's so much profit in having Bitcoin followers. There's not.
Again, it's not your version of success. Your definition of success is like very different than mine. It's not even using the word profit isn't like a word that I would use.
Okay, like even if you want to just have more friends.
I like having a lot of friends. They're great to like keep me grounded as best as is possible because I'm a fucking maniac. Yeah. And then on top of that, I find it like a fun way to spend my time to provide like content that adds value to the lives of people around me.
No, but you could just go get friends locally in real life and go meet cool girls and have fantastic sex. That's a better use of your time for shits and giggles.
I don't like IRL as much. Like I mean, I enjoy IRL, but usually IRL is for like adventures. Like for me, it seems like the way that my value system works and the way that my brain seems to work, the online stuff is more fulfilling from like a personal like friendship and enrichment standpoint. And I wouldn't say that it's better. It seems like it's something that's more gratifying to me. And I recognize that in others, they have different values.
My hope for you and every Twitter user and every Facebook user and every Discord user and every social media user is to stop wasting your goddamn time reading what other people say. Stop wasting your time trying to generate fucking likes. Stop wasting your time deleting posts you don't think got enough likes. Because when you measure what you actually get out of the many, many, many hundreds of hours that you put in, you will see that it is only loss. And if you had instead built anything else, programmed anything at all, designed anything at all, did fucking sit-ups, anything pays better than the fuckery, the trickery that is incentivizing people to care about likes and retweets. It is a trap.
You're making, I believe that attention is more important than money these days. I really do. Because like with attention, you can syndicate values that you like and you can kind of like mitigate those that you don't. And that's, for you to make a summary, everybody who's watching this needs to ask themselves.
You can buy those.
You can, sure, but I think that buying them typically, like my limited experience with the buying route, it's a lot less effective from like a personal development standpoint. Like I think that in the way that I like to do it, it's more of a dialogue. Like I'd like to think at the end of the day that my idea of propaganda is the idea of my community as I've found it to be, and not so much Chris Derose. Like, because I could just buy these things. You're absolutely right, but that seems like it would be less gratifying. Whereas if I earned that likes or those likes, and
but there's other ways to buy them just by producing better content. Like I could have a hot model sitting on my lap right now, and it would be funnier and interesting, and
yeah,
I would get more clicks, and I would get more views, and she would make $300.
I don't disagree.
I would get 10x the views for $300, and it would be cheaper than.
I'm with you. That you're 100% right, and it's something I probably need to expedite. Again, you know, I just moved into this studio, and this hurricane happened. I was moving. It's on the list of things to do. So you're not wrong. Yeah.
So here's my point. Take a guy that used to promote Bitcoin, the brown box voting reform guy, NASA scientist guy. He used to make videos about how cool Bitcoin was. And then he stopped and he said, you know what? Let's fix Congress. Congress got broken in the 1970s when people couldn't vote in private anymore. They had to say publicly what their votes were. And then when companies would give them money for their, getting elected, the companies could make sure they voted the right way. And so not allowing Congress people to vote in private created the mechanic by which the government was sold to private companies. And it occurred in the 70s. And before that, it wasn't the case. There was a brown box that you put your vote into, and no one really knew how anyone else voted. Okay. So he dropped his Bitcoin bullshittery in his videos and all that. And he went and just did the brown box voting reform, trying to fix something in the world. I think that is a great move by that guy. And I learned about brown box voting reform from him. And it's part of my prescription for how to fix government. So I believe you pay twice what you normally pay to get qualified applicants. Then you have a better voting system, not first past the post. You get an ordered list. If I can't get this guy, give me that guy. If I can't get this guy, give me that guy. Combine the list. You get someone everyone kind of likes, easy to get consensus. I believe in voting tests. If you're not smart enough to get a haircutting license, maybe you're not smart enough to design a democracy or do human resources for a multi-billion-dollar country, right?
So that's fine. I'm not going to have an argument over whether or not with anybody that's a better or a worse value. That's just that is what it is, and people can go to work on varying degrees of success in the public policy changes that result from that. But for me, what I like to do is talk to my friends and say, hey guys, what's bothering you today? And right now, the thing that most of those people will tell me is this diversity stuff is bullshit. And I'm tired of my fucking boss or this person in HR or this person who is a fucking making faces at me because I laugh at some joke that's just funny. And then we say, well, what can we do to change this after some degree? And diversity is coming to the top, and that's a very common thing. I have an idea for you. So for me, yeah, I could do these gigantic things, but I find that to be very rewarding for the people around me, and that's something that I'm focusing on lately. To great success, even in the very limited capacity that we've been doing it thus far.
So my point is, if you wanted to remove your ego from the progress, then you would let people that were better carriers of the message do it instead of you. Because you promoting the message might be the worst thing for it, because people might not like you as a personality, but they might like the message if it came from someone else. So if you really cared egolessly about getting a thing done, you would do your job as a developer, build something people wanted to use, take your money and advertise Jordan Peterson's video or Milo's video or the blonde girl, don't remember her name video, right? Used to work with Rebel Media.
I would pretend for a moment not to have an ego. I think that anybody who's watching this would never believe that. I think that it's true of everybody to some degree. I think it's especially true of anybody on YouTube. I think that would include you as well.
Laura Southern chat says correct.
Laura Southern's in here? Hey, Laura.
No, they mentioned her, as the girl I was trying to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, Laura Southern's the best. Fucking love her. Yeah, no, I mean, here's the deal is that I'm a soldier for hire in the sense that I'm the guy who takes the social risk because I'm the guy who doesn't give a fuck about that. That is effectively my efficiency. Right, is that I don't care about that.
That doesn't appeal to most people. Most people don't like people that don't care. usually.
Well, that may be the case, but like again, I think that a lot of my record has probably worked. My style is very much of this mischievous style, bending social mores, asking difficult questions in a way that embarrasses people.
Like, I don't care about us. Like, I don't care about you or me. I care about like the right, better way to do anything. I care about the best keyboard, the best TV, the best speakers, the best dog.
There is no best keyboard.
German Shepherd.
That's the thing. There's no best speaker. There's no best dog.
There is.
So anybody who's watching this can ask themselves if they believe that opportunity cost is a factor in decisions. And you know with speakers that you have things from like studio monitors, which are designed to reproduce the sound without any degree of consumer preference and without an inordinate amount of bass. And on the other end, you have speakers that are designed for like home entertainment. And then you have to decide, okay, well, where's the function? And then you have to decide what sacrifices.
Right, so now you have 5 best. It's not that
fine, but you also have to decide like what sacrifices you have to make, because for most people have limited resources, unlimited wants. They want not only speakers, but they want a boat and they want a barbecue. So they have to decide, do they want the best speakers or do they want mediocre speakers that are 80% as good for half as much money so that they can also have a barbecue that is 80% as good for half as much money? Like these are the nuances of the real world. There's no silver bullets.
You make this like, so when you say silver bullets, you're making appeals to complexity, which are not the worst things in the world. Worse than them would be appeals to exceptions. Like, but this, but that.
It's an appeal to Dunning-Kruger. Like only like Dunning-Kruger cases, and you're not actually one of them, but I think that you're cultivating some of that in others, wherein the arrogance of their ignorance is where like you're catching them. I don't know if you even realize that, like, but that would be what I see, is that you present a world of simplicity for them, wherein like their arrogance is inclined to like accept that.
So let's think about 2 different paths. Path 1, everything's hard to know and everything's too hard to decide because everything's so different and you don't even know who you are and you change and the stuff changes and whatever's good for now isn't good for later and nothing can be known and all that hippie bullshit.
Mean, you're using absolutes. It's a world of nuance. It's not a world of like nothing is certain. It's a world where things are hard.
Nuance isn't supposed to cripple you from being able to say time wasting exists. You're crippled, but you don't realize you are. You're scared and incapable of taking a stance on a thing because you're overthinking it.
I don't think anyone even knows what like my agendas are, for that matter. So it's hard to like, it's hard to really even define.
Great, like you speak like a politician. Just say a person can waste time. Say a speaker can suck.
I'm working on being a better politician, and I do that unabashedly because I think that there's a lack of that in the space to the degree that it has splintered a lot of the cryptocurrency people to where they can't even agree on basic shit. Like that would be something that I would be proud of, is like, let's not be a politician in the sense that we are looking to like take advantage of people, but we are willing to make small sacrifices to achieve greater goals. And I don't think that's shameful.
Do you think the color red exists?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a spectrum of color, yeah. I mean, there's many reds.
So is that a yes?
You're looking for...
No, I'm showing you.
No, it's not crippled. The world of red is very complicated. I do video production. I can show you a whole spectrum of reds. Like there is a red in a context. So like if you show me like this right here, yeah, this is red, but that's a red and that's a red and there's a different red over here. You know, like
tell me more about
color. Complicated.
I don't know anything about it. Like
I don't know much about color, but like
color chart with me. Like I know all of this stuff. I know everything that you're saying, but I'm not afraid to fucking point to red and go, look, it's red.
It's not about being afraid. It's about making
I point to red. Look, chat. This is the color red. Richard Heart, the absolutist, the condescending piece of crap that I am. I'm willing to go out on a limb. I'm willing to go out on a limb and risk all my social capital pointing at the fucking color red on this fucking color square, right? But all the smart guys out there that say Dunning-Kruger and other super advanced shit, they're okay with saying Dunning-Kruger, right? They're okay with saying aprobism. I don't even know how to say it properly, but they're not okay with saying fucking red because they're afraid.
Social opprobrium.
Right.
Yes.
You're afraid. And when you're not afraid anymore, you can say wasting time exists, and this is the color red, and this shirt is ugly. I don't mind saying all these fucking things. By the way, I chose this ugly shirt.
You're equating nuance with fear, but nuance is specialization, not fear. And I think that anybody who's watching this needs to ask themselves, who does the thinking here? Does Richard do my thinking, or do I do my
How
thinking?
is anyone able to
And
make
what
their
would
life
you
better with
choose?
your inability to make strong statements? It's already hard enough for
Well,
people to
you
do
went in
what
the
they know they should do.
You went in the channel saying the following: post here the maximum utility you've derived from Telegram outside lulz. And now you're here again, and like maybe lulz is a fine goal for people. Maybe a lot of people, Richard, they're not looking to like conquer the world tomorrow. They're just looking to have a nice time with their day, or like a nice hour.
I'm not okay with that.
That's fine. You're not okay with that, but that's your values, and like and that's good.
Yeah,
I don't begrudge you for having those values, but you're advertising them in a way that I think is going to alienate you from the community specifically.
I don't care. Like if you don't like me telling you how to do things better, then fucking mute or whatever.
Well,
but like,
the channel's not going to like you, and I recognize.
So ban, kick. I don't care. Like the same people are in 50 other channels. No one cares. Like. It's 8 nerds talking about crypto sometimes and how bad the government is sometimes. And that's the end of their fucking utility. Literally.
We've got 130 people in that room that come in and out at various times. And they're,
yeah,
and
like,
they're
look
just
at my
like-minded
utility.
people.
Like I'm no better. I'm almost as useless as everyone else, but I'm trying to move past that shit, right?
But
I know that it's bad.
Richard, you got this habit of like, and I think it's fine even to a degree, but you've got this habit of like, coalescing the world into your values. Whereas my attitude, this is how I have been lately, is rather than force my values, why don't I understand everybody else's? Because maybe there's a lot of like ego and arrogance in assuming that mine is better. And I have found that world that I am pursuing is, I think it's a lot more fun, honestly. I mean, the lulz may be all that we're achieving, but you know what? Like, that's a great way of passing time. Like, I don't think that anybody who's watching this, who is being, realistic, would be like, shaming anybody who says that.
Listen, if you don't think time wasting exists, I find that very hard to believe.
Of course, time wasting exists, but like it's not objective. It's like time wasting is.
So do you have any regret? Do you have regret about any behavior you've ever had?
Yeah, I didn't bang Carolyn from Maryland. God, I regret that. She was so hot. And the reason I didn't bang her was I was too fucking drunk.
All right.
That's my #1 regret.
Okay.
I've always regretted the women I have not slept with. That has always been a regret. I've never once, I've banged girls and kind of regretted it, but the girls I didn't go for, I regretted more. Carolyn from Maryland got away, and it was totally me being too drunk one night. And then she left, and I never saw her again. Yeah. I thought I'd see her again. And I didn't want to bang her with like whiskey dick. And like, it just kind of was like, I was just drunk. And I regret that. So everyone's been there. Yeah, of course.
Do you have any regrets about things that you've done more than once? Like a habit?
The hard part about that is that the things that I've done in my life that I think could have been done better always resulted in a lesson learned. And so like, I don't know that I would have ever learned the lesson if I hadn't done it the way that I went, So like, what are the opportunity costs of having not done that? That might be a world where like, I could have fared far worse because it would have manifested in some other greater tragedy down the line. Like that's
can you see how it's hard to improve your behavior when you're unwilling to admit that there's anything less than optimal? So this belief that better and worse is so hard to know and so hard to find, and everything is wishy-washy and unknowable, it makes you very hard for you to improve because you can't point to anything and go, that was dumb, right? That was bad.
I mean, anybody who's seen my content, like in varying ways, would probably tell you that it is improved in many specific. I don't think that that's the antithesis of improvement. I don't accept that outright. I mean, I accept that can work for some people, and I don't doubt that that's worked for you.
So I should feel bad for trying to convince people spending their time on social media from making memes, trying to get likes and shit, as someone who spends much of their day doing that, and I think it's terrible. I should feel bad for trying to tell other people that the payoff isn't what they think it is.
It's not that you should feel bad. It's that like you're going to alienate people by being so assertive on like very difficult, like emotional and complex like social interactions on these values.
Okay.
They're probably just like not even that useful for the majority of people. Like they're useful for Richard Heart, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like, it seems to me that your success is going to be limited by your sort of like boorishness, I think, on these matters. And I don't even care. I like it. Like at the end of the day, I think you know who I am and I know who you are. But like you come into the channel and you do it when like the price is down. I'll say that. And then like you come in there and then you make these like declarations of objective truth that are just personal preferences. And I'm like, what the fuck? And like they're things that we voted on. It's like, okay, so like Richard, like we all, like, there's 100 people that are in this room and we voted on this thing. And this is the value that was declared because I believe morality is a social construct and there is no like objectively true thing sometimes. And then Richard comes in and says, I figured it out. You're all wrong. Telegram's terrible, despite having the biggest rooms that I'm aware of in crypto, like the Whale Pool and the Whale Club. With like, if you did at least some sort of like a demographic approach to the situation, would be like considered objectively wrong. Not that that necessarily makes it objectively wrong in other contexts. And you come in and then like you put like a line in the sand. And frankly, that's one of the things that I think Bitcoiners, in my estimation, have suffered from over the years. And when you see like the Ethereum camp, they don't do that kind of stuff. And Ethereum is a retarded technology, but it's grown because they've done better leadership and political management of their community. And like, that's the kind of thing that they don't do.
So, okay, a few things. Yeah. Thesis 1, social media is a waste of most human beings' time. Thesis 2, if people could swap out the time they spend on social media for nearly any other behavior, they would reap great rewards and love having made the trade. 3, if you care about memeing, there are much better channels than crypto channels full of lightly autistic, extremely technical people who probably weren't the most popular guy in school, probably didn't tell the most good jokes. Those people do exist, and they're in channels that aren't crypto channels. So I linked you to the Ice Poseidon guy, who's a Twitch streamer. He's got 45,000 people on his subreddit. He's got 45,000 people in his Discord. His Discord has at least 20 to 30 people consecutively talking with each other at all times. They meme all day, every day, and he's just one streamer. Every Twitch streamer that has a community has upwards of 15 to 20,000 followers interacting and fucking around and memeing and making jokes and having fun and swatting and do all the other stupid shit that you guys are trying to get into. So if you really, really care about memes, then crypto channels aren't the place to do it. So
what if we care about memeing within the crypto community? Like why does it have to be outside of that greater, like, and here's another thing I'll say, like you're telling me that like, okay, so like diversity, for example, is like too big an issue. You're never going to make a difference. And then I'm like, well, what about just making a difference in the crypto space where people receive, you know, the bulk of their personal interactions with these people? Like, it doesn't, like you very quickly jump into this larger context that I don't know that people want to jump into.
This is the same argument I get from people that are addicted to poker, but you're addicted to memeing, and it's exactly.
It's weird that they would have the interest of like diversity in Bitcoin as poker players, but I'll take your word for it.
No, it's like this. It's like, listen, I'm better at playing poker than doing other things. So even though I'm not really making the world a better place, and even though I'm just shifting money around, and even though I'm victimizing people stupider than me and just making them have to work harder to replace the money they lost, and even though they're probably having worse relationships and worse nights of sleep, and we're just incentivizing these large companies that would then have larger marketing budgets to put more people into the meat grinder of putting all of their hours at the stupid table looking across a smoky room at other people putting the same stupid hours in just to move the money around a little bit. You know, even though all those things are true, I'm making money and maybe one day I'll do something good with that. And my response to those guys is, you know, listen, if that's the best you can do, if that's the highest level that you can operate at, if you can't do any better, if you can't like actually make the world a better place or actually provide a service to someone who thanks you at the end instead of looking at you sadly as he hands your winnings over to him. You know, if that's the best and highest that you can live and that's the only standards you have for yourself, well, okay, well, maybe that's where you're at. But I've got big standards for me and I know what I'm capable of. And I will not spend the next 10 years of my life fucking around, making stupid memes on the internet, chatting with chat rooms of 100 people when there's a better life that can be lived and people are actually living it. If you look at Peter Thiel's Twitter, he's made one tweet. And in the meantime, he's got a foundation that gives kids $100,000 to drop out of college and follow their dreams, one of which was Vitalik. He's got a foundation that supports people living longer and healthier. He's got tons of startups. He's got he's living the fucking dream, and he ain't tweeting shit. So I'm tweeting like a boss, but I don't have a book. Peter Thiel, not tweeting, has a book. You see the difference? You don't, but I do. And I care.
It's just very judgmental. Like I don't, let me tell you what I would like for my life, honestly. The thing that I would like, my definition of success is to talk to weird ass people all day and learn weird ass things about the world. That's all. I love that kind of shit. I always have. It's what I've always done in Bitcoin, and I've shared that enthusiasm with others. It may be a bad goal, it may be a bad version of success, but it brings me happiness. And for the people that find that kind of stuff interesting, I respect that in them. And
how many paths to happiness do you have? Is there only one?
No, I mean, there's I for me, I tend to focus on stuff in a weird way, but I don't know, there's more. I probably should work on my fucking romance life sometimes more than I do, but I just don't. I like my real estate stuff as a hobby. Yeah, I just get more satisfaction out of it. Well, I mean, most people do, Richard. Like that, when you talk to a lot of people in the regular world or IRL, or certainly even at the fringe edges of crypto, you say to them, "Hey, I had Lucas on the other day. What's important to you?" And his answer is making his kids happy. And maybe that is a bad moral for you, or maybe that's a bad value for you. But I don't think so. I respect that he has happiness as it's relative to him, and that's enough for me.
Yeah, I'm all about, no one making their kids happy. That's my thing. You got me, man. In my free time, I beat crippled kids. I'm like, hey, you look like you can't run that fast. Here, let me hit you with this stick.
No, I don't. Obviously, I don't. Because where does that fit in your agenda? If there's a person who just wants to spend more time with his kids every day, is that time wasted? If he decides, I was watching this documentary on BAM.
That's the best. That's the best time that you can have. But few people get this time that you're talking about, because they're wage slaves.
But I think a lot of the people in my Telegram channel, they are staying with their kids in the bathroom, they're telegramming, they're going to a soccer game. For me to tell that guy that he has bad values is not appropriate, nor is it what I believe.
Okay. So let's summarize these things. One, I find it very easy to declare better and worse, and why. And I make measurements, and I say why.
That should bother you. That should bother you. I don't agree with that.
Okay. And
it's not a virtue, I think.
Okay.
Sorry. Keep going.
I hear you. And I believe that most human beings live lives of quiet desperation, and that most human beings are not living up to their potential. And most human beings, if they had high standards, would have tons of regret. And by high, I even mean realistic. There's no reason to be fat. You don't even have to do anything except stop eating so fucking much. It's not even a thing you have to do. You just have to not do a thing. You just stop this motion. You can reduce this motion. You don't have to be a fat fuck anymore, right? I'm okay with saying that being fat is bad. I'm okay with saying that memeing your life away is bad. And I think that if you got out more and talked to more people that were trying to make changes in their life, they would tell you exactly what they felt was wrong. And you wouldn't be forcing any weird, you may not feel good telling people to not waste their lives. I feel great because I've earned the right, because I've wasted my life. You may not feel good telling people that memeing is bad.
You declared that method of earning. I don't know that the world has to agree with that or does. That is the world according to Richard Hart.
Qualify? Would qualify would be okay with you?
In Richard Hart's rubric and metric. But for the people that are watching this, they may say that a guy who is so delinquent is to spend that much time on something, and that's not what I believe. But my point is that there's this view that for somebody who had that in him, maybe this is just an extension of that same delinquency, and that's just a construct. I don't even believe it. But you should also consider that these are narratives.
You're internally discongruent, and I think that you give other SJWs the shit that I'm giving you. So I see you fucking up and I tell you about it, and you see them fucking up and you tell them about it. But you don't claim that you're the kind of guy to tell other people when they're fucking up. It's internally discongruent.
Am I allowed
to you what you're doing to them?
Am I allowed to enjoy my life in the sense that I get to follow hookers around, drug dealers around, money launderers around, gamblers, and share that knowledge with others? Is that is that a waste of time, or is that like,
As long as you know what the trade-off is, as long as you know what you're really paying for it, as long as you're aware of the opportunity cost, yeah, it's fine.
Well, I mean, I don't think
Wanna,
anybody gets to do that. Like the opportunity cost is undefined on that. Like
you said that your love life could be better and you could have more good going on with girls,
that's
but instead
that's
you're
one
talking to
thing.
some old dude on
Well, I
YouTube.
enjoy this.
Like,
This happens to be the kind of stuff that I like. There are opportunity costs, but like I don't know, maybe I would have like knocked some girl up and would have had a kid tomorrow. Like that is unknown, right? Like that, like generally, I have like knocked girls up and gotten abortions, and that's usually what happens. But maybe this one wouldn't have done that. And then there's risk everywhere. Like there's no certainty in these things, you know? Like that would be the point. Like you really can't know what your opportunity costs are.
I think that you will find it very hard to perform optimal behaviors when you're afraid to assign weights to the things being compared. I think you'll find
you do assign weights, but that's an appeal to spectrums as opposed to dichotomies of like there's optimal. Well, no, maybe here's a question, Richard. Maybe let's say a scenario where I had a kid because I just got drunk tonight instead with some girl. Maybe I had a kid and like that kid was awesome, and like I would or maybe that kid would have been like like a behavioral problem. Like there's risk. There's no optimal that is objective.
Do you think that some people are living life at a higher level than others?
I try not to. Like the truth is probably, but that I strive not to. That would probably be my answer.
When you see a person missing a lot of teeth on the street with dirty, torn clothes, asking for money, do you ever wonder, like, maybe they couldn't figure out what red was? Maybe this is how that happened to them.
I assume that I assume that the inputs into that person were tragic, and that I would do no better given those same inputs.
Right, but how does that make their life better? Maybe you should give them a free pass. We're like, well, most people get
I do give them a free pass,
but since you guys, you and Sam Harris, I don't understand why.
Because I think everyone's doing their. I mean, this is one of the differences between us. I think everyone's doing their best thinking. I think that everybody takes the limited resources that they have and they do their best to like ascribe risk to that and on any given basis like navigate the difficult world that they live in. That's what I think.
Condescending to hold them to a lower standard because you're basically calling them stupid and telling them they can't do any better.
I don't see it as lower.
And it's wrong.
I don't see it as lower at all. In fact, that's why I spend my time with a lot of the people that others consider lower. That's why I like the hookers. That's why I like the criminals. That's why I like the drug dealers. Is because they don't
why are you grouping them all together? Like they're three different jobs. Like you shouldn't fucking group them together.
No, but they're jobs that generally I would say most people probably like look down on. And that's one of the reasons. There's many reasons why. Like that's one big one is I don't think they get the respect that they deserve. And then I also think that they have knowledge that we don't get as a result of that, which I wish to gain. Like and then there's other stuff around it. I think there's a class of people, like not socioeconomic class, but like a group of people that share that mentality about these types too. And like, by the way, Bitcoin has always been defined by people like that. Like it just has. So like they're not over. Okay, so I tell you what. I think in the interest of time, unless you feel otherwise, I think we could.
I've got all the time in the world, bro.
No, tonight I don't.
Uncrash it.
I don't. We'll do this more. I always love these conversations. I generally do. We'll do this more. Although we're not doing it again without me having a mic because that's very one-sided. Okay.
Okay. Oh yeah. I heard you. But you had your chance now. We had the exact same conversation, so you had a rematch.
Yeah. Well, look, I want the audience to weigh in on the comments below, and I will look through this as best I can. And I probably won't. I won't have the time to respond to all of them, but I'll respond to some. But I genuinely want to appeal to like the audience for like what they think on some of these issues, because I believe that being reasonable is reflecting the audience's values into my own platform. You would believe, I think,
the opposite.
that the opposite, and that's fine. And let the audience decide.
The opposite.
That's fine.
So
let the audience decide if
you're
that.
Listening,
yeah.
I don't give a shit about what you think about anything. I do not care if you follow me on Twitter. I do not care if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do not care if you read my book.
I don't really believe that.
Give a fuck.
I don't really believe that, but it's fine.
Like I know that I shouldn't be doing this right now. I should be building stuff that people are willing to pay for because it's that good and it makes your life better.
You're wearing a suit right now, Richard. I don't think anybody who wears a suit can make that claim.
I don't want my tits to look any bigger. Look, trust me, I'm sweating. I didn't want to fucking wear this, but I was like, oh God, what am I gonna do with these things? Do you guys want some milk? You guys interested in some milk?
There's one very specific thing I wanted to talk to you about today that is right up everyone's alley. And it's this China thing, okay? And I want to frame this a little bit because I think that we touched on this on the last discussion, and my point was that I think this was the last discussion, that one of the biggest features that makes Bitcoin is its liquidity. And when you see China's spigot of liquidity being turned off, or at least being dialed down significantly, the price is taking a dip. Now, how do you frame that relationship, if not causal?
So I have a problem with the world speaking different languages, and I have a problem with not being able to interact socially with Chinese people because they don't speak English and I don't speak Chinese. And because of that, I'm not able to influence them and they're not able to influence me. And what we end up with is increased volatility in all markets, including the Bitcoin market. So that bisection between the Chinese markets and the American markets is bad everywhere that you find it. So it results in what we saw today. And it's also cultural problems. You know, this whole dump on a rumor, like in America, do you think a business would shut off on a rumor that a letter might come out? This shit would never happen. Motherfuckers would be like, yo, I'll shut off when the letter comes. I'm not shutting off early. Are you crazy? Right? So I have big problems with a lot of what goes on in China. And, you know, this law by rumor is one of them. Inability to communicate is another. Capital controls is another. Human rights is another. We could go on down the list.
But this is a very Richard Heart solution. The Richard Heart solution isn't to like adjust the Richard Heart comprehension. It's to wipe China from the map. I mean, what is it that you're advocating? Maybe.
Well, no. You get decentralized. You first of all, every exchange gets hacked because it is an inevitability that 0 days exist, and it is an inevitability that you can't defend against them, and it is an inevitability that a pre-launderable Bitcoin is a giant honeypot, and therefore it will get 0 days applied to it. So it is inevitable that every single exchange will get hacked, and financial losses will occur, and they will be socialized into the users or investors or both. And so right now, we need to get people off the old system into the new. We need these exchanges to make ease of onboarding quicker and easier, and maybe price discovery a little more efficient. But like Bitcoin is supposed to be a decentralized system, and mining pools breaks that. China and inability to communicate breaks that, and exchanges breaks that. And the sooner we can transition off the teat of the government and their permission to transact with each other at the exchange level, is the sooner we can fulfill Bitcoin's promise. So maybe China's exchanges shutting down will accelerate the progress of decentralized things. I hate talking about, I guess, BitShares, but it exists and it's a decentralized exchange. And this other DAO that founded something called BitSquare, which is now called BISQ, B-I-S-Q, is another decentralized exchange. Why the fuck are we still using centralized exchanges in a system that prides itself on censorship resistance, decentralization, and lack of counterparties? What the fuck is an exchange except a giant counterparty that's guaranteed to fail?
Well, I agree with a lot of your concerns about centralized exchanges, but the reason that we have them is because value needs to move out of the legacy system, and there's an inordinate amount of regulatory constraints on that outflow. And that's not going to decentralize unless you want to go to people in the streets, Mr. Golden Teeth, who's going to be routing paper bills around. And even
that's what they do for their coffee. That's what people do for their coffee. People buy their coffee off the streets from people.
I agree, but the values and the values of these markets. Well, first off, the coffee market itself generally goes through centralized exchanges. So there's that. But then, in addition to that, how is it that someone's going to buy or sell $1 million in China in this decentralized market where they have it in their?
Because it's such a small percentage of the market. There's only 5 million Bitcoin addresses with more than $1 in them.
I don't think it's
most
I don't
real
think it's a small
human
percent of the market. I don't accept that. I think a lot of, I mean, maybe it's the people I hang out with, but like a lot of the people that are Bitcoin hodlers are dealing with at least thousands of dollars. And maybe not a lot of the people are dealing with millions of dollars, but
so people buy
in order for this to
all
scale,
the time for those prices. People buy cars all the time for those prices, and they mostly don't use bank transfers, and they mostly don't use exchanges, and they mostly don't use escrow. They get a cashier's check from the fucking bank. The guy signs the title, and the car is transferred. That's it. So
But you're
like,
not going to have, but the cashier's check in this model is not going to go through an exchange. You're going to go through Mr. Golden Teeth again. And Mr. Golden Teeth is like going to know that you have the money. What are you going to, how are you going to do this? Like, so you think that someone's going to get a
okay,
bank wire for like
let me
$10,000
let me
and they're
explain
going
it.
to go to their local Bitcoin guy and they're going to hand them the bank check for $10,000. And then that guy's going to give them the Bitcoin. Fine.
Yeah.
But that's going to take a lot of time.
This is how
B,
cars are sold all day, every day. This isn't
but
magic.
But cars are
Those
heavily
price points.
regulated. That's
No,
not,
they're not.
again,
No, they're not. No, they're
that only
not.
half. Yes, they
They're
are.
not.
All large assets are heavily regulated by
No,
governments, and
they
cars are
are
definitely not an
not.
exception.
Okay.
I mean,
Have
for
you
anybody
ever
who's
bought a
listening,
car?
I've bought and sold many cars, and there's always
Okay.
been regulations regarding like
And
who I
what
can
did you
buy them
have to
from,
do other than sign the
and
goddamn title? What'd you
I had to
have to do?
register. I had to register with the state. There was a title issue. In fact, you don't even get to own a car. You kind of get a license to have a car from the state.
No, you get a license to drive from the state. They're wildly
No, you
different.
no, you have a title to your car, and if that title is in the escrow of the bank, in some cases, the
I
bank.
have a car title behind me, and I could go grab it and show you where it shows transfer ownership, sign, and then I hand it to you, and it's over. That's it. That's all I have to do. It's done. You give me the money, I give you the signed title. The fucking transaction's over. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's well then if it were that simple, like you wouldn't have the
It's
ability to
that
like
simple.
claw it back when somebody took it for a joyride or some such thing. Like these things, these records of ownership exist in the state. They're registered assets. The fact of the matter is that they're not bearer instruments. They're not fungible. They're registered assets, which means they're heavily regulated by the government.
You know you don't have to register your car. Like you can like
You do in Florida. I don't think if you're like a scooter, you don't have to. Now maybe some countries
no,
don't.
you only have to fucking register it if you're going to put a license plate on it. But if you're just going to resell it, then you don't have to fucking register it because you're not like personally using it. Like you can own it and resell it without like paying the fucking taxes and shit. Listen,
Resellers are heavily regulated in part because of all the crime that used to be associated with chop shops and things like that. So like I don't know how it is in other countries.
Let me get this right. The drug trade
Yeah.
exists and buying of cars and shit exists.
Yes.
And buying of selling of jet skis and beds and speakers and all this shit exists. But for some reason, magically, Bitcoin is impossible to transact through the same channels that all that other used goods go through.
It's not that it's impossible. It's that there should be a recognition of the degree to which the friction like impacts the growth. And I don't think people are realistic
I agree the
about
shit
that.
will go slower, and I agree it would be useful to have escrow agents.
But
But
it could also be slowed at any. There's like a button that these governments can press that'll slow it down to a snail's pace. If you know,
right, just like they
not
did
worse.
with BitTorrent, and just like they did with marijuana, and just like they did with you know,
More like Eagle,
shit
you
doesn't
know,
work.
or more like a daily fantasy sports. You know, like there's
Right. Okay, so let's go over this. If
Yeah.
you're an attorney general and you want to get your name in the newspaper, what you're going to do is you're going to take the hot button issue of the day. Maybe it's backpage.com, maybe it's fantasy sports
whatever.
betting. And you're going to see, oh, you know what? I have an opportunity to make a name for myself. So I'm going to fuck these guys up. And you go get your sealed indictment, then you take it to a judge, and the judge issues a subpoena and a search warrant gets issued, and then they go kick everyone's door down and seize everything and seize all the dude's money, and then he finds out how rough the system is and pleads out. Okay? That's what happens over and over and over again. That's what happened with eGold, and that's what happened with the fantasy sports betting guys, and it's what happened with the sports books, and it's what happened with, you know, certain people doing hand job parlors or whatever. What do they all have in common? That is a door to kick down and shit to take, period. When the
Correct.
door goes
Yeah.
away and when there's nothing to take, then there's no cool headline and there's no cool picture of shit with alphabet boys next to it.
100% agree.
Then it doesn't happen. Okay. So the reason that a lot of crime goes unpunished in the States is because there ain't no fucking door to kick in. Right. So selling Bitcoin peer to peer to other people has fuck all to do with giant centralized media marketing companies with hundreds of employees sitting in a fucking building doing billions of dollars of commerce. There's nothing.
Yeah, but Richard, how much time have you spent like with people in the ghetto and like with like street culture?
A lot.
So then you know better than anybody what happens when somebody brings a fucking bag of blow and like puts on the table, and it's like a fucking serious drug deal. And like, I'm not saying that I was the guy who bought it, but I was in the room. This has happened a few times. Like, it's a tense situation.
More often
they're
than
tough guys, and there's like recourse. Like if you don't pay, or if he robs you, or vice versa, like people die.
Okay, so maybe Bitcoins get sold like marijuana. Great, whatever.
But what are the liquidity impacts there? Because that will be severe. Because you're not going to get guys. You're not going to get Barry Silbert running these types of exchanges. He's gonna fucking knock out. He's gonna be like, no.
Yeah, listen, I agree with your position that it will be slowed down, and it can be slowed down, and it can be made shittier, and you can still kick doors in. And that's why I'm saying a decentralized exchange solves that. It really does.
But that's not a real idea.
Let me give you an example of how wrong you are. Okay.
I don't accept it. You can't like decentralize ACH. You can't decentralize SWIFT. Like that always requires a door.
And I'm going to explain to you exactly how it fucking works.
This is a business model for somebody to follow.
I know.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Right. You know. Okay.
So there's these people that do fraud, and they steal people's identities. But the problem is that even though they've got your identity, they just can't get the money out. So what's a magical way that you could steal an identity and then turn it into money? I know. A work from home billing agency. Well, how does that you say you work, Richard? Oh, well, here's how it works. You go on Craigslist and you say, we're hiring people to accept payments for us in America because we're a XYZ country company and it's hard for us to get a bank account there. And we have so many customers that want to pay us that we just need someone to help process the checks. And so your little idiot shill that doesn't know that he's being robbed receives checks to his bank account from people that you have stolen money from. And they didn't know you stole the money.
Richard, this is going on right now. The Bitcoin ATM guys deal with this, and they are the ones who bear a lot of the penalty on this stuff. Is like that's why the money transmission laws work, in the sense that you as the broker, like the banks, will actually bear the burden of that regulatory compliance penalty, not necessarily. And this is why they do it, so that the banks have an incentive to stop these people. And this is why there's a lot of underserved people with bank account issues, is because those are the types of people that banks end up having to pay a lot of money on when they get roped into some scam because they're, not as educated as other people. You didn't come up with that.
I'm going to call the Gish Gallop on that one. And I'm going to go back to the original.
I didn't interrupt you. Continue. Okay. I apologize.
I don't mind the interruption. It was just long. So my position is that there are millions and millions of dollars of illegal transactions going through people being screwed over in work from home, accept money that you forward to a foreign country and then discover that the money that you originally got, you didn't really get, and the bank takes it back. Okay. This happens in credit cards where people come to your store, take your stuff. You didn't get a signature that matched. You lost the chargeback. You lost the money. You thought approved meant you get to keep the money. Turns out it means approved to get fucked. Okay. So the same fraud that happens with merchant accounts and credit card swipes and not getting a good signature, okay, also happens with work from home, accept this money, forward it to us when you receive it, and then, oh, it turns out you didn't really receive it. It was pulled right back out because it was fraudulent. There's millions and millions and millions of dollars of that commerce going on. People accepting money at home and forwarding it on elsewhere. And for the same reasons it's being done evilly through identity theft and fraud, it can be done honestly for the sale of cars or for the sale of things that have similar value and are even less required to do all this other bullshit that you say is hard, like registering Bitcoin. And you can have recourse. Like these things get solved by, here, let me give you an example. Here's another solution from Richard, the fucking solution guy, okay? Let's say you need to interact with a counterparty that you don't trust. You don't want to go to that deal. You don't want to do that $10,000. You don't want to bring it with you. No problem. You give me $1, I give you $1 of coins. We open up a Lightning channel. You give me $2, I give you $2 of coins. You give me $4, I give you $4 of coins. You know how exponential ramps up. My only risk is the last transaction, and I've built trust with you the whole way through. And you don't even have to ramp it up. We could just do it over the course of a month and trade a fucking $1 a day or $100 a day. And then I've only risked the last portion. So right now, these days, trust isn't that valuable if you're intelligent, because you can use rapid iteration spread over a time frame, and your only risk is the last transaction that they could fuck you on. They could exit scam you for the last part. But all this shit, you already locked in. You see? So I've got tons of solutions for this shit.
You're a man of many solutions, but I'm very skeptical that the investors are going to have the palate for that. I think what would happen is that the market would shrink considerably, and I think that the ability to attract new entrants into that market will be prohibitive. That would be my guess, but the audience can decide for themselves. So that we discussed that, I think, enough, unless you want to add to it.
I think it was unique and interesting to hear about alternative distributed ways to maintain the Bitcoin ecosystem during periods of extreme nation state antagonist. Like, I think that was valuable. If no one else thinks that valuable, well, fuck you. You
No,
tell me
it's
a
not.
better idea.
It's not. The thing is that like I love Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's fucking amazing. It's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life, and I like it for all kinds of reasons. But I've tried to distance myself. I mean, this is again a difference between you and I. I try to
You're
distance
fudding, by
myself
the
from
way,
the.
just so you know.
I'm what?
You're fudding. You're
No, I'm
fudding.
not fudding.
You are.
I'm presenting reasonable concerns that
Then
I
give the
have
time to the other side.
as.
It's even more reasonable.
Say it again.
Give equal time to the
Yeah.
even more reasonable side. The New York license is a license from the United States government and the largest transactional, insuring, economic center of the United States. The New York license enshrines people's ability to transact in Bitcoin at an institutional level. Now I've got your fantasy that life is going to suck real bad on one side, and then I've got a real law written by real regulators and perhaps real legislators enacted in the most fucking financial city in the entire nation. And I'm going to take the New York license over your fantasy. And I'm going to take Ledger X and the Chicago Board of Exchange and the fucking ETFs and Vancouver's ETFs and all these other countries that are getting on board. I'm going to take all of that real shit written in paper over your fantasy that the sky's fucking falling.
It's not that the sky's falling, Richard. It's that Bitcoiners aren't real. This stuff works. It's very useful. And I know that, and you know that, and they know that. And I don't think that the government knows that yet. And I think that as they find out, the options that they have available to them will be exercised. And I'll tell you when it'll start to happen is when the terrorists are recognized as using this. They are, by the way. I'm watching this. And I think it's going to be like a disaster that happens.
Everyone, listen.
It'll be tied to Bitcoin.
Chris has inside asymmetrical knowledge.
It's not that it's tied. I mean, that happens all the time, but like in this particular case, like it's very publicly reviewed. Look at the Daily Stormer. The Daily Stormer is ramping up to be a terrorist organization real fast. It may not get there, but the next one will. And they're entirely thriving off of Bitcoin. And I get it. Like I watch this stuff, and what's going to happen is they're going to end up bombing a synagogue or a park or something. I almost saw the event that I was at get bombed.
No
and
fun.
Watch how fast. Watch how look. Richard, I'm just telling you, these are scenarios that are possible and perhaps likely. And if you're an investor, you should consider that not only are these scenarios real, but as evidenced by China, that there are constraints to liquidity that the government has in its purview of enforcement. I just think that that's reasonable. It may be FUD, but like it's also a reasonable concern. So that would be, hey, yeah, look, people can hate me or love me for it. I don't care which. I'm just exploring ideas.
So you remember when I said that you shouldn't meme and you shouldn't do propaganda, but then I gave you the best resources that you probably could find for doing it?
I've seen some good resources there. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah. So like I'm not the kind of asshole that says like, yo, I don't like what you're doing and I won't help. I'm the kind of asshole that'll say, yo, I don't like what you're doing and here's some really cool resources and I will help. Right. So if you want to build narrative, tvtropes.org. If you want to do propaganda, the crypto like thing.
Richard, like what is the wisdom of airing these concerns on a public channel? Like wouldn't it have been wiser to do this on Patreon or like a private channel?
No one follows anyway. Like it's already private.
I'd rather these opinions not be like you're accusing me of fudding. Like what I want is for this to be public. I don't want this to be public. I want it to be asymmetric so we can have like a strategy that doesn't get linked to by everybody all the fucking time.
It's already limited. Like for some reason you think 100 or 200 or 600 people in a channel.
I've done this for years now and I know how this stuff works. I've had channel logs leaked. I've had like my own comments pulled out. Like this is real life. That is what happened. I don't really mind it that much at this point because I've got like so used to it, but like I'm trying to build a more forward thinking approach to, yes, it's political.
Maybe you should get a symmetrical at 10,000 or 5,000.
I'd rather have a small group of old Bitcoiners who are like-minded, who have the appropriate channels, money, and say on the matter than opening it up to like the entire world because that negates the value of it.
Listen.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in the space and no one called me or messaged me and said, hey homie, guess what? China's coming to fuck shit up, dog. Be careful.
I did. Well, no, that's true. But I often try to get you involved in stuff that I find, and I would like to continue doing that at some level. You don't have to be in
I
on
don't
that.
mind
Like,
being a
yeah,
scepter. I don't mind asymmetry. Like, I just don't think any of this stuff is
of
important
course
for
you
me to
don't.
protect. So, look, guys, I'm smarter than I let on. I have other shit I could tell you that I'm not.
Guys
So.
weigh in on that too. Like, I believe in asking the community what their opinion is, because I think that that's a more forward-thinking way to build communities that are proactive on these matters. You would say that your authority is superior to the crowds, and I don't think that's good for
No, I'm
the
saying that I
community.
could
I don't think it's
purchase
good
a
for the
crowd.
individual.
I could purchase a crowd for cheaper than I can generate a crowd. I could purchase someone else's
That's
influence
just not
cheaper than I
true,
could generate
because
my own.
the crowd you purchase, they're not. The reason I get asymmetric information is because a lot of people recognize a lot of the stuff that I'm doing in this realm, and like, you won't be able to purchase that. I have leakers all over the fucking place. I'm very
But
thankful to them. And if anybody's here who's watching who thinks that like they can contribute information to me that would help in some of these forward-thinking concerns, I would very much appreciate it, because that's
so I don't want chat to think that I don't give equal time to both sides of FUD and non-FUD. So let me tell you, since you guys want to play the parade of how bad can it get, hey, maybe Bitcoin just breaks cryptographically. Maybe our choice of curve for our ECDSA wasn't as good as we thought it was. And it turns out that somebody at the NSA already had it figured out and they know how to factor it. And maybe we're fucked. Or maybe the pools that are pretending to be separate, maybe are all really the same pool. And they're just waiting to turn off all transactions until you pay like 1 Bitcoin per transaction. Or maybe there's someone out there with a bunch of nodes as honeypots, seeing where all the transactions come from, and they're going to get your IP, and they're going to kick the shit out of you and take your coins. Or like, I could go down the fucking list of all the like.
I don't think that's systemic stuff. I think that like terrorism is a systemic risk. Do you want to hear other concerns that I have, or will I be accused of
Do you want to
funding?
know what terrorists use? They use cash, and they use PayPal, and they use eBay.
Not the new
And
generation, Richard. That's changing.
they do. No, this is like recent news articles I'm quoting you from.
Yeah, I
You
think
can't
you're going to be
stop
surprised.
them.
You know this is an efficiency, Richard.
Cards.
You know this shit works. Like, that will change. That has to change, because that is inefficient compared to Bitcoin.
No, every single new technology gets utilized by criminals first because it provides them the maximum benefit and they can pay the most for it. It's every technology. As long as the vast majority of the uses for a currency are honest and the vast minority of the uses are dishonest, which mirrors human behavior, technology is always a net win. And the only exceptions to that are extinction level threats such as nuclear war and grow your own pathogen at home DNA editing. Those are the only two exceptions. As long as human beings are more good than bad, technology will always be more good than bad, because it's just a force multiplier. And the force that it multiplies is the average behavior of the average human utilizing the technology spread over an average adoption time.
I mean, I don't accept that technology is always good. I think that regulation tampers, mitigates the threats of new technology. I mean, like, things like OxyContin would be an easy example. I don't know that that was probably a net good in the way that it was regulated, and it would have been better if it was regulated differently. Maybe I'm open to that. And like, there's a lot that we can discuss there, but like, I don't necessarily accept that unilaterally technology is always good. And
I think that these measurements are very easy to make. And I think that if you talk to a person with back pain and ask them whether they would prefer a world where some people get to have a good relationship with the opioid and some people get to have a terrible one, I've seen these conversations. And
I'm with you. I
guys
agree
are in
with
it for
that.
the good.
I agree with all of that. I'm just saying that it's a very nuanced world that requires a lot of regulation and management.
Let me ask you a question. What good is nuance if you can't change behavior due to analysis paralysis? What you call nuance is analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis that's not logical. Like, analysis paralysis would necessarily negate any, like, I mean, that is what analysis paralysis is. So like, there's clearly a threshold at which it's not useful. But there is
so when you claim that you're illogical, is that like a hidden claim that I am illogical?
Autological.
I'm a pretty logical dude.
No, autological is like happy dog is happy. So like, analysis, to say that when is analysis paralysis good? Well, it's autologically bad, because analysis paralysis is in fact an articulation of bad.
I think you mean tautological. Ontological means
ontological is a word.
No, but it means what knowledge comes from. Ontology is the study of what knowledge comes from.
And I mean, there are other words that are I mean, there are other words. We don't have to decide like the synonyms of ontological.
You guys can Google.
Ontological is a word.
You can Google ontology, which is the study of knowledge, I think.
Yes.
And what can be known. And then you can study tautology, which is something that's true by its own definition.
But the point remains is that like it's like asking when are like I mean I don't want to, I hate analogies, but you know
I love analogies, dude.
When do you like win a losing game
right now.
or something? You
let's
know? Like,
fight the analogy thing right now, okay? Have you ever taken an IQ test?
Okay. I would keep that asymmetric, and the answer is I failed terribly.
Okay, you can't fail a fucking IQ test. There's no F.
That's why I like that answer.
All right. So if you wanted to generate a test to measure a human being's intellectual capacity, separate from the knowledge that they've accrued, separate from the society that they grew up in, one way to do that is using shapes and rotation, which is your ability to like have something in your mind and manipulate it. It has nothing to do with, you know, I guess with video games, it helps to be male a little bit. And then you use analogies. So foot is to sock as hand is to, one of the answers is glove.
Yeah.
Right? So analogies are literally how we test if you're a smart motherfucker or not. Because if you can't get analogies,
no, there are many ways to test.
There's like the next thing. So there's not many ways. There's like 6.
Look that up. That is very untrue. There are many different. If you took like a whisk test, I think is the one that I took. It's a very long process. I took it at university. It took 2 fucking days, and I got like all this fucking shit back, and it was worth doing. It was interesting.
My point is that
there's many different types of intelligence. Many different
knowledge.
There's memory. There's like oh god, I did this one where like you put like little there's like blocks you got to make fucking shapes out of. I like that one.
You realize you're like a broken record on the knowledge. We can't know anything. Everything's too hard. It's all.
I mean,
you can't do good at an IQ test because they're all wrong, and there's different types of IQ. Like there's no productivity.
But you realize you make
bad.
You make the foregone conclusion. You assume the thinking for the group.
No, but I'm aware of all those
their own
things.
Opinion.
No, but I'm aware of all those exceptions and little shades and spectra that you're talking about.
You can't know what you don't know. That's an absurd claim. Like
no,
if we accept that Richard Heart is always right, then certainly, which Richard Heart is obviously accepted. But like I don't accept that.
Is 2 + 2 4?
Yes.
Unless you're in modulo 3. See how tricky I am? See how smart I am? See how stupid that is? And what a waste of time it is?
Basis vector is an absurd like part of this. Like I'm not accepting that.
No, but like it's the same thing. It's your inability to choose better and worse, or to take a stance, or to suggest better behavior, or to optimize your own, like. And then the funny thing is that you are doing that for other people. You say, look at how stupid SJWs are. Look, my first 2 YouTube videos are 40 minutes long about how stupid SJWs are.
My community seems to hate them.
To the choir.
And I kind of do too. They're fucking horrible people. They're the worst people. They show up and they hold people hostage on their reputation over things that are like their own self-described morals. They're horrible people. So I can't stand them.
The same disdain that you have for their poor behavior, open yourself up to that same disdain for your poor behavior, and expand your demands and expand your standards for what you should do out of your life.
You're asking me to decide like that I have like bad values or something, but like that could equally apply to you. You don't get to make that decision.
I don't think that you are living up to your own values if you took the time to flesh them out more. I think you can and should and would if you talk to your parents, if your parents are still alive.
My parents,
and asked them what you should do with your time. I think they would tell you.
Actually, they would tell me. They would tell me to have kids and like fucking live like a normal life.
And maybe they're right. And maybe they're right.
Maybe they're right, but it's just not what I want. Like, I fucking don't give a fuck. I mean, that's not.
But at least give it a minute to think about it. I'm saying that you could reach a larger audience, that you could use your technical ability, that you could have a bigger and better impact on things that matter more, instead of being the last mover on a subject that's been beat to death and the consciousness of the community is over with. This SJW shit ain't gonna last long.
I agree.
Miloing around anymore. And Milo's better than you do.
Look, guys, you're watching this, okay? I've got a bunch of people, I don't even want to talk about who, bitching about the diversity committee over there at the Scaling Bitcoin conference. James Damore is a huge national issue right now. I agree that like all issues, this one will be over and reasonableness will win the day. But I'm picking the side of reasonableness.
I didn't say reasonableness would win the day.
Well, that's what I believe. You're right. You did not say that. That's what
I do not think it will.
I think it will. I think it will.
Okay, well, what do you think is going to happen?
I think what's going to happen is that the next round of the national debate is going to be what degree of utility and monopoly is Google and these other services who are steering national opinions based on leftist ideology, and at what degree do we break them up and how? And in that dialogue, James Damore is probably going to be a gigantic part of that debate for exposing
Who is James
bad
Damore?
faith.
I have no idea.
Well, so you may not be dialed into the issues because you're not following the demographics like I do.
Yep, that's right.
James Damore wrote a wonderful letter about the differences between men and women.
Oh, you're talking about the dude that got fired from Google.
Yes, Fire for Truth is his name.
I know all about that shit.
Okay, well, you didn't know his name?
No.
Okay.
Hey, I don't, that's like the least, it's not usually that useful. It's like when I have a quote, like when I gave you that quote earlier that most people lead lives of quiet desperation.
This is the world according to Richard Heart. What Richard Hart knows every word. If he doesn't know it,
but I didn't care
to
fucking quote it. I'm saying that giving the source of quotes and the source of like useful knowledge isn't really that useful to people unless they're going to go through and really hunt down more shit that person said. And then you find out that they didn't say that much shit anyway. They only said 8 good things.
Well, I'm telling you what's going to happen in my estimation with the issue. And I threw names out and you asked who the name was. So like you can have a discussion on like why names don't matter. So that was the point.
Yeah. So here's my position on James Damore. You are not going to convince people to act against their own interests without profit. And there is great profit in being a member of a team, even when that team is wrong as fuck. It's the reason we have families, cities, nations, unions.
I agree.
And so just like people won't adopt a new product unless it's 10 times better in some aspect, people won't switch to your social belief unless you give them a profitable reason to do so.
The profitable reason to change
is not profitable.
The profitable reason to change is going to end up being antitrust allegations. Like that's where this is probably headed.
It should like gender's the least of those problems. Like gender and antitrust.
That's where it came to a point though, is because that was the science denial that like Google finally engaged in. And like it's probably even quasi-random in some senses, but you know what I think it is too, is that like I kind of think that a lot of the like helicoptering parents were like telling their kids for a generation that they were equal in outcome, you know, versus equal in opportunity.
I have another theory as to why I should have.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. So if you have one, I'd be very open to it.
If you go to cultures where money is harder to come by and life is more stressful and you're under more constant threat, then stronger, richer, more powerful men are more attractive to the women. When you switch to a society where everything is cool and everything is chill and the government's going to take care of you, then more fruity, metrosexual, weak, artsy dudes are able to plow. And so people adopt people. It's the truth, man. So if people are subconsciously and mostly subconsciously adaptive to the circumstances that they find themselves in, and the period of peace and prosperity and lack of external threat in the United States has allowed people to get more fruity, more funny, more bitchy, more whiny, because they didn't have anything better to do with their time. Now, I'm going to do something that'll make you angry here.
It'll make me angry.
The way that we make fun of those people for being little whiny bitches and being wrong about so many things and being nitpicking naggers focused on the things that matter least. Which bathroom do you use? I don't give a fuck where you put your pee-pee. I do not care where you put your pee-pee. I don't care. Mostly your pee-pee goes in your hand. I bet 90% of guys are hand lovers more than they are guy or girl lovers. So why do I care, right? I know that the Reaper is coming and he's coming to kill me and my family, just as he did my grandparents, just as he did my great-grandparents, just as he's done my pets. The fucking Reaper's coming. And I can either fight that cocksucker while I'm still able, or I can live in the fantasy world where this other silly shit that doesn't matter. Look, fucking nukes are going off in North Korea. And we're talking about gender and fucking corporate whatever bullshit and cryptocurrencies. There's fucking nukes going off. There's existential threats going on. Mankind, has become weak and has become frivolous, and because fucking time wasting and stupid, because they haven't endured real strife and real stress. I think your life would be entirely different and your focus would be entirely different if you didn't have passive income. If you had to be a wage slave and actually work for a fucking living and experience the suck that is doing something that shouldn't be done for someone who doesn't deserve to tell you what to do for money that you can't fucking barely support yourself with. Most human beings in the United States have less than $2,000 of savings. Most human beings in the United States can't afford to live alone. Literally, they have to have roommates. This is not the world that our ancestors grew up in. Our ancestors had it better than us. And to tell you the
I don't agree
truth,
with
I
that.
don't
Yeah.
think you can measure it. You can measure it. You used to be able to
But
buy a car and a house with a high school fucking degree.
yeah, but that's
Now
a
you can
cherry
have a
pick.
master's degree and go fuck yourself because you can't even get a job.
That's a cherry pick metric that probably has more to do with city planning. The newer generation has like iPhones and Uber and Wikipedia and like so like you end up with these like would you rather go back in time or would you rather live today? And the answer would be the latter for any of those people.
It depends on whether you want a house or not. It depends on how
Yeah.
okay you are with not taking vacations ever.
Right? The opportunity cost is like a huge part of having that house. Those people didn't have all kinds of other shit, which we just decided were more important to us.
They're not mutually exclusive. You can have both. You can have the cool electronics, and we could start building houses. Like I have a video.
Richard Heart logic, you can have both. I don't accept that you
Look,
can.
let's take the armed services that are good at deploying bullets, which is a tactically advanced thing to do, and it's a life and death thing. If you can have men that carry weapons that are tactically advanced and they're trained on how to use them, then they can drive a fucking nail. And they can have a nail gun. And instead of learning how to drive bullets down range, you could learn how to build a goddamn house, just like the not the Mormons. Who are the guys that have Rumspringa? They don't use technology. Yeah, the Amish get together on the weekend and they're like, oh, somebody needs a house. They get together on the weekend, they build a fucking house. Boom, the house is done. People, instead of putting a weekend into fucking trolling on Twitter, now they've got a fucking house, right? We can do that with the armed services too. People don't have to lose their jobs. They're still going to know how to put the fucking bullets down range. They're still going to be physically fit. But instead of sweating out in far Afghanistan and moving rocks around, you can just have some goddamn houses. And then we can listen to the contractors complain about how unfair it is that a kid that graduated high school can actually have a house to live in and not have to work 60 hours a fucking week. There are things that can be done.
These are all like so is it my understanding that you would divert money from like defense into like homes?
No,
like
the money doesn't change, just the human behavior changes. We would have slightly less tactically capable soldiers from drilling less, and they would instead learn how to bang nails into fucking lumber.
That sounds like extraordinary financial gymnastics.
It's easier to build houses than to kill people. It really is. And maybe
I don't think that killing people is like necessarily sucking up the money per se. It's all of the infrastructure. And frankly, I think most of it's like robots these days and like, the technology component of that stuff.
I'm telling you this, if you look at videos of people that are deployed, they do a lot of sitting around and a lot of fucking waiting for nothing to happen. And it sucks and it's hot and it's shitty. And every once in a while, a buddy of yours comes back with a body part missing. It's dog shit. Let's take those guys back home.
I see them.
Our office stand will have to fucking figure it out on their own.
I see them running simulations. Like the guys that I know that do that, they generally work pretty hard. They're not just sitting around. They're usually maintaining a lot of equipment. They're running simulations. They're at the top of their game.
You understand that if anyone follows your advice and your path, that there is no better or worse, and that nothing can be better.
I don't have the arrogance to sit around and tell people I know better than them about the things that they've specialized in.
Because you think it's hard to make progress when it's extremely easy. It's so easy.
No, I think progress is very hard to make, and I think that there's a lot of arrogance in assuming it's like, well,
you used to be a fat fuck, right? And now you're not a fat fuck anymore. How did that happen?
That was hard. I had to quit drinking, which wasn't easy, and then I had to manage. I mean, it's not easy because most of America's overweight.
Which is the better path? That I advertise how easy it is, or that you advertise how hard it is? Which makes the world a better place?
Well, I don't generally talk about that issue.
Part of the problem.
It's not something that makes people feel good about themselves, so I don't usually like to talk about it much.
No, what you do is you give them the spike of pain just long enough to think about what should be done, and then you just focus on the doing. You focus on what's wrong just long enough to focus on the doing. But you do have to think about what's wrong. You do have to open that window for change, and then it closes again. If you don't jump through that window, that's what December 1st is. That's what January 1st is for everybody at the gym. You said, I'm going to have a New Year's resolution. I'm going to be fit. You go to the gym, you jump through the window. If you show up, you might keep going, and it might be a lifestyle change, and you might be fit for life. But if you don't show up, the window closes, and you wait until next January 1st, and you will fucking wait that whole year. So these windows of opportunity to make progress are ephemeral. They only exist for a short period of time.
I don't think the stats back that up.
Try and jump through them.
I think most people who start working out on like the New Year resolution plan do not keep with it. I think that's actually
right. I agree with you. I agree 100% with you. But their likelihood of fulfilling through and keeping doing it is infinitely higher than the people that never even showed up the first day.
Well, so fine, but
it's hard both ways.
That's the case for just telling people to go to the gym at any given time.
So if I had to
Which
summarize
that I
Chris
do.
if I
That
had
I
to
do.
summarize Chris Derose, just Chris Derose is, I'm not
Often.
better or smarter than anyone. I don't have advice for anyone.
Correct.
Things are very hard to know. Everything's
Yes.
very nuanced. I waste my
Yes.
day with 100 people in a chat trying to do
Incorrect.
whatever.
Incorrect. I had
And
a
then,
wonderful day with people where we decided lots of issues and talked about, like, I mean, look, people are watching this right now. They're either getting value out of it or not. If they're this far into
but this is better, right? But you can count how
value.
much better this is. This is better because it's
But the only
evergreen
reason that we get to
content. It'll
have
be
this
around for a long time.
the only reason we get to have this conversation is because like I have conversations with people all day, and frankly, in the last like 2 weeks I've had too many conversations, because my fucking studio is like, you know, no power. That's part of the reason why. Okay, I have one. If you have time for it, I got one last thing.
Go ahead.
That we should discuss, because
I got nothing but time. I waste my days.
I do enjoy this
so
stuff with
I have
you.
nothing but time.
Frankly, I enjoy it.
I just want you to have a great life. I want you to want the best things out of life and to get them.
Richard,
if the best
I
you can
appreciate
do
that.
is troll,
my concern,
I'll help you.
the point that
But
I would have you
could
take,
do better.
the point that I would have you take from this, you won't have this, but the point that I would have you take is that it's arbitrary what is better, and that it is up to every individual to decide what is better, not Richard Heart.
But you can influence you, and I can influence you. So why don't we do it?
Well, maybe
we can both influence you. We can both cascading influence your.
What happened between yesterday and today? I feel like influencing. You gave a whole speech yesterday about, unfortunately not recorded, about influencing it. Like I gotta say, you get in moods, Richard. You get in moods. Okay, you're in a better mood today than you were yesterday.
I tell you the same stuff I tell me. I literally am giving you the same advice.
Yesterday, you gave me like these crazy frameworks where like you can't make a change and no one can make a difference, and I was just like, that's a fucking bleak. You were in a mood like, I don't know what the fuck you're.
I have a self-help video channel. Like, what are you talking about?
I think that the price was down, and you do what everybody does when the price is down, and they fucking like count like one less Lambo they can afford.
I don't even want to alt tab, dude. I don't even want to alt tab.
Okay, so here's the last thing. Okay, here's the last one. What I see is the biggest problem in the space. You're gonna laugh. Okay, you're gonna laugh.
All right.
The biggest problem in the space is that we have no fucking clue what Bitcoin is. Let me finish. We have the original Bitcoin consensus protocol. We have the evolved protocol according to Core. We have factions that have come to intercept that progress, who have been laughable, who have been absurd, and who have not been successful by any reasonable definition. But what then are you buying? Because most noobs have no fucking clue. And I have to say, gold doesn't have consensus issues. Gold is always known because there is an empirical, objective definition. There is a whole litany of characteristics that it has, all stemming from its atomic number. So, like, what do you think about that assessment of the problems of Bitcoin?
Yeah. Well, I've got good answers for all that.
Okay.
First of all, gold has had tons of problems, like being made entirely illegal to own in the 70s.
Which could happen to Bitcoin.
I don't remember what year it was. I think it was 70s. I think it was maybe during the oil crisis. It was in the 70s. We came off Bretton Woods. We were fucking over. So basically in World War II, we were the best economy because we were the last mover. And so our shit didn't get blown up. We still had our productive resources. So the world needed a reserve currency. And we said, all right, well, let's make it the dollar. And then the dollar was pegged to gold, and people would send us their gold, and we would manage everything, and it would be fine. But then we decided, oh shit, you know what? We're just not going to give that gold back. We're going to steal that, and we're not going to maintain the dollar's value. We're just going to print it. So those obligations we had to you, we're not going to actually pay them. We're just going to fuck you over and give you inflated paper that has a deflated value. So gold has huge problems with the fact that it was made illegal, the fact that it didn't work for exchange and commerce between nations, the fact that if you have it in person, you don't know whether you have real gold or not. I've got fish testers that I can use to see if a coin is real or not. Someone else told me you can use an iPhone app that's called a ping test, but I'm not sure I would trust it. And so you don't know whether you've got gold or gold filled with tungsten or gold filled with another high molecular weight, dense metal. And no one accepts it. And no one is ever going to accept it. And even in countries where it's widely more popular for cultural issues like India, where if you get married, you will get gold as a gift, period. And you care about it and you wear it and it's yellow. It's not white. It's not mixed with nickel. It's not got rhodium plating. It's yellow, normal ass gold. Even in those countries, the minority of payment is gold because it is inconvenient. You don't know what you're getting paid with. You just do not know whether what you're getting is real or not. And it's too expensive. The unit value is too high now that to have it in smaller things gets too fragile. Like if you wanted to have like penny sized bits of gold, it wouldn't work. So gold sucks, and it's always sucked. And
no, but
the only thing that sucked worse is fiat.
You're describing the applied, the applied enforcement of gold, risk-based assessments.
No, but it sucks everywhere across all cultures. Like it sucks
but there's
everywhere.
But there's no systemic issue in the science of consensus in gold. Like gold will never have a consensus issue. We will always be able to appeal to science to determine.
How many other things got made illegal for like owning? Like
but all that
people from owning
Bitcoin.
Shit has only happened with two things.
All that applies to Bitcoin. The difference is that
gold.
Bitcoin's consensus isn't immutable. So all that applies to all the issues of gold could also apply to Bitcoin, which should be noted. But the issue is that gold will never have a consensus issue. And Bitcoin, and this, by the way, is an old Mises thing. This I think is they articulated it terribly. They didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. But it derived from specie, I think, is this issue, which is that there is at least a way of tying in the physical world this identity of a product. And it may not be a perfect path to that identification. But with Bitcoin, increasingly now, I'd say, by the way, we have what is the core definition and then these other people's definitions. And that hasn't been a huge problem yet. It's kind of been a problem, but not a huge problem. But at some point, it's conceivable that it would be. And it would be like under weird terms. Like let's say we decided, let's say like Jihan did some fucking bullshit, okay? Decided to fork off, whatever. And then, you have Luke Dash Jr. and Gregory Maxwell decide they're going to change the proof of work algorithm. Will they call it Bitcoin at that point? Fine.
Look, I have all these answers. Like you don't.
But that's the subjective. It's a subjective definition. And so you have to defer to the exchanges to make sense of it. Okay, let's hear. I'm sure you do. Like Richard has all of the answers. Should be the tagline of your.
Not all of them, or I would have fucking told everyone like, yo.
I think you might be a genius, Richard. I'm not sure. You could be a genius. I don't know.
It's not actually that hard. You just got to have a 145 IQ. It's not that hard.
I think it's actually 130.
2% of the world has 132. So it's not that hard. 100 people, 2 people have a 132. 2 people get a Mensa. It's easy. It's 2%. A lot less people in the world will be able to own a whole Bitcoin.
So what's the solution? Yeah.
Bitcoin is as useful as we think it is. And for humans to do commerce with each other, it doesn't matter what the flavor of the day is. So in some countries in Europe, they used their fuckface local currency with pictures of local people. And then they said, you know what? We're going to get more economic benefit from combining these currencies into one and creating a greater economic union and creating a euro currency than by having these frictional translation costs of going from currency 1 to currency 2 to currency 1 to currency 2 and all of the overhead that goes with that. And they made the right choice, and they switched from their old stupid system of everyone having a different currency and losing tons of money to transaction costs and volatility and bullshit, and having a single currency. Just like I say we should speak one language to get rid of frictional costs. Everything would be better. If everyone spoke one language, everything would be better, except for the stuff that used to be in the old language, right? So if you were like a numismatic collector and you wanted there to be a new, cool, weird currency in your weird country, it might not happen then, right? So if it doesn't matter that you switched from the Deutschmark to the euro, then it doesn't matter whether you switch from the euro to the Bitcoin. And it doesn't matter if you switch from the Bitcoin to the gold thing. And it doesn't matter if you switch from the gold thing to the bullet. And it doesn't matter if you switch from the bullet to the cure from cancer. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is that for some period of time before you get in and you get out, that there's a reasonable number that you can assign to what you're owed, what you gave, and what you're owed. So there was never a barter economy. It never existed. All people had was memory of who owed who what. You did 5 chickens for me? Well, maybe that's worth a horse, but I ain't got a horse. So I'm gonna give you some other stuff that's worth 5 chickens. Here's a back scratch, here's some barbed wire, whatever, right? Human beings never did that, oh, we can't trade because barter. That shit never happened. It's a fantasy. And if you read Nick Szabo's writings on it, he'll give you all the reference material to show you that that shit never happened. What we did have was memory. We used to mark on sticks. We used to write on clay. We used to write on paper, papyrus. And now we write in Excel sheets. And now we write in blockchains. It's the same fucking thing. All that matters is that you have a scarce thing to remember what a bunch of people that don't know each other owe each other.
What percentage of investors understand that the consensus no, I think it's very relevant because that's risk that they did not ascribe to. And when it becomes obvious to them that risk
exists. Better risk than
a
fiat currency that goes to zero, guaranteed. It's a better risk.
That's not a risk for most people. I mean, that's very rarely the risk.
They're just dumb.
Any
central banker, that's ever been asked, how much should I invest in cash? They tell you straight up, you should not invest. Not in investment. It only goes down.
That's a feature.
Into shit that goes up.
That's why people invest. If you didn't have inflation, nobody would invest. And that's what grows the economy.
That's like saying if we didn't have inflation, I wouldn't cut my hair or I wouldn't cut my
Look at Bitcoin.
Yeah, we would.
People don't spend Bitcoin. They hold Bitcoin.
It's better.
If Bitcoin inflated, people wouldn't in a currency. Increasing the amount of money that gets out of the currency and into building businesses and into infrastructure is what has succeeded for many countries. So when you look at inflation, that is the design goal, is to get money out of paper.
So you're talking about increasing the monetary velocity by giving people a reason to spend, which is demurrage, and inflation, which is the opposite of an interest rate. So you've described two sides that are opposed of the same thing. Interest rates are the opposite of demurrage, and interest rates are the opposite of inflation.
It's not exactly the opposite. I'll go with that, but it's not.
Well, why do you think we move the rates? Like we have a committee that sets the rate, and this is
libertarian definition of inflation, which is like only the issuance rate, but like inflation is actually the cost of goods and services.
No,
which is independent of interest rates.
They're wrong, and anyone that thinks that is wrong. The vast majority of money does not exist. The money multiplier effect and making 100% secured.
In so much as money can't
look at the number. No, the M2 number is dog shit compared to the actual float money in the system.
This is when I would accuse you of adding a lot of unnecessary nuance to the discussion. I don't mind doing.
What are you talking about? No, like when they set the rate,
because we're theoretically talking about like inflationary concerns. I don't actually even know what we're talking about, quite frankly, because it got distracted.
You said Bitcoin sucks because. Let me tell you all the reasons that Bitcoin sucks. Hey guys,
It's not that Bitcoin sucks. I love Bitcoin. I can't make that more clear.
I don't want to see me do a Chris impersonation.
No, I do actually, yes.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Hey guys, it's Chris Derose. What's up, party people? Let me tell you why Bitcoin is fucking fearful and uncertain and full of doubt. Okay, you bought a Bitcoin and you think you've got something that's valuable, but did you know that there's this evil cabal of programmers that could change the proof of work and make your investment worth nothing? Hold on, it gets worse. We've got mining centralization, and all these Chinese people that don't even speak English are trying to make your coins worth nothing because they want you to use their coin. That's a Max Kaiser tonality.
Richard, that narrative is fine. It's not at all.
I'm not done shit talking the corner. Do you want me to shit talk it somewhere? I'm just giving a more lively.
Here's where it matters, Richard. It matters when the SEC decides to start regulating these ICOs because we're going to have a very hard
ICOs.
time.
Fuck them.
But Richard, that's going to happen. The SEC has made that clear. So how does the SEC define Bitcoin in a way that excludes Bitcoin Cash or doesn't exclude Bitcoin Cash and prevents?
It's not their job. You're talking about the wrong regulatory agency.
Well, you might be right, but that's the risk the investors are going to bear because they have to decide what that decision is going to be and how that's going to shake down.
Okay, so let's talk about the investors. Okay.
Yeah.
Of the people that own Bitcoin, what percentage of them do you think bought at 5,000?
Very few. I have no idea, but less than 1% would be my guess.
So can we agree that the vast majority of people that own Bitcoin paid fucking very little for them compared to what they're currently valued at?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So unless everyone needs out at the same time, where's the fucking risk? Everyone's sitting on mad fat fucking gains. And they could endure a shitload of regulatory suck sitting on those mad fat fucking gains. And the only people that get ass raped are the people that got in last, just like every other thing in the world. You don't like Bitcoin, you don't like ICOs, I hate to break it to you, but venture capital is just as fucking bad, if not worse, because 9 out of 10 things fail. And the people that are choosing the things that are going to go right or not, they get paid either fucking way. So they don't even have a good incentive to make that shit work. If someone has a coin or an ICO, they don't get paid either way. Like they need to make that shit work, at least in a coin. The ICOs, they get fucking paid either way. But my position is like the regular alternatives that you would think these people have available to them in the overpriced stock market or the overpriced real estate or the fucking continuously depreciating other currencies, the rest of the world sucks at least as bad and probably more than sitting on mad fat gains in a world-changing technology that has literal computer science breakthroughs in it and is making a real impact in the world today. And it's no one even uses it yet. Imagine when they do. Like imagine when people actually fucking use it.
I hear that.
This conversation changes.
I would describe that as cute.
Why wouldn't they?
I would describe that as cute. Okay. And that's fine. But what I would suggest, I'm going to recurse here. I know how you feel about that. For many investors, when the market stops making sense, they get out. And there's a number of events that could make that happen. And one of them is an uncertainty over the definition of Bitcoin as the SEC would interpret it, because the SEC is very likely just to call it a token. Like it could do that. I don't think it's likely, but I have to say, I have a hard time.
That is not their job. That's not their thing. Like
it's their job. They will. Well, you say that, but that's what people said about ICOs until they decided it was their job.
No,
like I see that as within their regulatory purview.
You're not paying respect to all the other regulators who spend their days fucking people up. The SEC is not the majority of fucking people up. Lots of other agencies fuck a lot more people up, and those people are the larger threat.
All right. Well, look, I see that as an issue that is forthcoming.
It's been an issue for 9 years. Look at the price.
No, but
this issue has sucked forever.
The issue is growing. And part of the problem is as the market cap grows and the special interest groups embolden, they start to faction.
Okay, so let's talk.
That factioning is in the definition of the word Bitcoin, and that has been a constant in the space. But I think it's ramping up, and you know that because we have Bitcoin Cash now that seems to be listed on the exchanges. We're very brazen in just like listing whatever the fuck any meme that they want.
So let's talk about how bad it is. Let's get really how.
It's not that bad. It's really not.
China,
but like okay.
Well, let's look. I ain't selling.
Keep going.
So I don't care what happens. I'm not fucking selling. I've been through this shit 100 times before. I'm not selling. I believe in this over all that other stuff. So
that's good.
So let's take New York. Okay. New York regulations terrible. But people in New York aren't going to be able to get services. Shapeshift won't do business with anyone in New York and just brings you to a page that says how much cock New York sucks. Okay. Well, that's a cool story. I like that story. But who has a license in New York? Coinbase. Okay. And where does everyone in America buy their coins? Coinbase. And why is that? Because they have a bank account. And why do they have a bank account? Because they have a license in New York. Oh, wait a second. So all that shit talking about how bad regulation is and how terrible it is and how the New York agreement would, not the New York agreement, but New York's licensure of Bitcoin companies would be terrible. They were all wrong and they were all stupid. And it was the best thing to happen to the ecosystem, and it's how everyone gets onboarded.
But you define a regulatory contingency. That's my point. Is that it is not in fact the honey badger that can magically create liquidity without that contingency. Like it is a honey badger, but it's a honey badger that sometimes it gets limp in. You know, I hate analogies for this reason. If anyone gets stung by the cobra.
I agree with Chris's position that regulators can come and fuck you up and make things go a lot slower. And that you should have better laws and not worse laws, because if you have worse laws, your life is going to suck more. I agree with that a lot. And I think that what Coin Center does with their lobbying and trying to generate good laws, and the lawyers that are over there should be thanked a lot more than they are, because they're the reason Coinbase is allowed to do what they're fucking doing, right? So I do agree with Chris that regulations matter. However, I'm going to point out that he's 100% wrong on what the regulations have been doing, because the regulations have been 100% friendly to Bitcoin, and that includes fucking China. China came out and said, hey guys, we're going to put some laws around this shit because it looks like some people are going to lose some money and it's super risky, but it's legit and it's cool and we're making laws. That's what they said. Now you tell me how that looks anything like indictments or doors getting kicked down. It fucking doesn't, right? So you're right that regulations matter, but you're wrong that regulations are going the wrong way. Regulations are going the right fucking way, and they're part of the reason the price is where it is.
They're going the right way. My concern is, again, that the universe doesn't owe us that it continues in that way.
No, you got to fight for it. I don't think you got to fight for it. You got to fight for it. It's got to matter to you.
Oh,
right?
we're fighting a lot, Richard. We're fighting a lot from the inside. That's I think the
No,
discouraging
we're
part.
not.
That's one of the reasons
You can't
why
even talk
I
to
don't
half
play
the
the.
people. You can't even talk to the Chinese people. Like you're barely fighting.
Well,
You're living in a fucking circle
when
jerk bubble. Like you can't even get people to
when
fight you on
communications are broken
Twitter.
down, I don't
When's
try
the
to,
last time you
Richard.
had a good
I could
Twitter
do
fight?
that. I've been trying not to because I don't like the
This is
fighting
the
in the
best
community.
fight you'll have this week. And I like you. Like
Well,
our
I'm
friendly
saying,
fight is the best fight you'll have
yes.
all week
Well,
long.
I was gonna say, like, I say, look, here's the thing: is that like I'm trying to build a little bit more like cohesiveness in the community, so that we can not decide that the definition of Bitcoin is going to change to whatever Jihan says this week, or that the core is going to do something maybe that. And I
All those
like
things
core,
don't
by the
matter
way.
that much, by the
They're
way.
fucking awesome. I think it
All those
matters a
things don't
lot.
matter. All those things don't matter.
I've never
I'm
seen
gonna
the
tell you what
community more
matters.
splintered than I've seen in the last year or so. I really haven't.
Doesn't matter.
Well, I think it matters. I think it matters because if look, the definition is contingent upon what people think, then a fragmentation of the community is going to change commensurately the definition of Bitcoin.
We can't
And that's a big risk.
speak to half the users. How much worse can it get? And like,
well, then you should consider that
like,
risk.
You can't speak.
Then that risk is real. There will be a China coin then over enough time. Like that's not even unlikely then if you resigned yourself to that. And that should be reflected in your comprehension of the investment you have.
So you're worried people aren't diversifying into altcoins enough? You think that people will miss the boat?
No, I don't give a fuck about that.
Like,
look, here's the thing: is that like I look at the space and like people, I just don't think people are always realistic. And like I always like to sit down. You know, Peter Todd did this a lot, and I think that you can't make friends in Bitcoin anywhere you go. Sometimes, so you try, you go left, you piss people off. You go right. One of the things I like about Peter Todd, when Peter Todd is at his best, is for asking some of the best hard questions in the space. And he's always been, I think, a bit of a role model to me, and not certainly in that respect.
I think everyone knows this shit.
Otherwise,
like who has their head up their ass and doesn't understand there's risk? I think everyone does. I don't think
so.
This position
I think
that people are fucking retarded.
I think 90% of the people who bought Bitcoin can't distinguish a Bitcoin from a pancake, Richard. I think that they have no fucking clue. They just showed up and they assumed, like my painter, the guy that paints my fucking properties, that
right.
he has like, he doesn't know what Ripple is. He doesn't. Right. He tells me all kinds of shit about crypto. I don't even argue with him. We're just like, okay, fine.
So let me summarize Chris's argument. Chris doesn't want people. One, Chris is not a smart guy, but he wants to say smart things.
No, I'm gonna ask good questions.
Okay. So I have fought this battle with the ICOs. It's how Chris and I met. I saw a guy pumping Ethereum when it reached $100. And I said, oh my God, are you kidding me? People are going to lose so much money. Huge attack surface, no use cases, irreparable problems. EVM that's worse than JavaScript, worse than PHP. Their wallets can't even do multisig properly. Everything is bad, super bad. Blockchain bloat, no adoption, don't even care about adoption, pride themselves in not having an adoption. Holy shit, are you kidding me? So many people are going to lose so much money. And this thing's almost as much as worth as Bitcoin that has adoption and has been around for a long time and is secure and is actually used like a currency by some people. Are you fucking kidding me? So I came out and started trash talking that guy. A guy I agree with, his name's Vinay Gupta. I agree with him on most of his positions. I agree with him on most of his positions, but I don't agree with him on his Ethereum stuff. And I had to, lay into him. And then Chris saw me laying into him and he's like, all right, this is cool. This guy's saying the same shit I do. And we had the same beliefs about what gives Bitcoin value. And that's how we got into this conversation. Was I was trying to prevent people from making a bad decision and getting scammed. And what you'll discover is that you will not be able to stop people from getting scammed. You won't be able to, because the people that need to hear your voice won't find it. And the people that need to hear your voice, you don't have enough margin to pay to reach them, but the scammers can buy all the marketing in the world because they have margin because they're getting paid. You're not getting paid.
I say about that is that they are appealing to greed. Like that's the easiest way to manipulate people.
Right. So now people are like, Richard's ICO. Yep, that's coming up. So I'm going to tell you 3 options you got if you're tired of seeing the world get scammed. Okay. Here's your 3 options. 1, do like I and Chris did and make videos talking about how stupid so many things are and hope that people find them and hope that they change their behavior and then realize you just wasted your fucking time because it ain't working.
Don't hope. You can improve your skills, and it isn't even that hard. It's just a job that needs to be worked on that is fun to do.
No one has ever been successful in preventing people from getting scammed. Do you remember when Bernie Madoff was fucking everybody?
I get emails all the time from people saying, "Hey, Chris, you were right," and I don't even want to.
It's like 100 people. It's not enough. You need like 10,000 for that to matter.
It's actually, I get it all the time. Like, it's over the years now. It's been quite a few. It's in the thousands, I think. Maybe wrong. I don't know.
Okay, so yes, Chris is right. You can impact some hundreds of people if you dedicate your life to it. I'm not happy with hundreds. I don't give a fuck about hundreds. We live on a planet of billions. I've had more employees than hundreds. I don't give a fuck about hundreds. It doesn't matter to me at all.
But do you have fun in the process? Is there any room in your model for having fun in the process?
I have a lot of fun. I actually have a lot of fun.
So maybe that's what matters. Maybe that's, for me at least.
No.
The audience can decide if that's what matters.
No, because I focus on the things that I don't have figured out. I've got fun figured out. I've got fashion figured out. I've got friends figured out. I've got family figured out. I've got a lot figured out. I don't have skinny, six-pack, or world mission figured out. So that's my current focuses. If I had other shit missing in my life, I would focus on it. So your 3 options are: do what Chris and I have done. Try and tell people why they shouldn't do stupid things and how risky it is, and how even the people doing those stupid things should do different, better stupid things. Okay. 2, complain to your regulators. You'll find out they're understaffed. Bernie Madoff was caught red-handed by an accountant, and that accountant submitted the documents to the regulatory agency every fucking year. Hey, this guy's still scamming. Hey, this guy's still scamming. Hey, this guy's still scamming. Guess what? Didn't do a goddamn thing. And you guys aren't, and by the way, Chris wrote a report and gave it to the regulators. So Chris has personally tried to convince people to not buy into bad things, as I have. He's personally written a letter and sent it in physical form to the SEC, which I asked him to in the comments and said, hey, print this as a letter, right? So Chris and I have actually done things to try and prevent people from getting scammed in ICOs by advertising and advertising to regulators. Those are the only 2 things you could do, except for a third thing, okay? And the third thing is something that no one talks about. It's outcompete them for the same resources. Let people invest in better things instead of worse things by giving them the option. Then you've got the margin to compete in advertising. Then you've got the margin to hire the hot models to get the fucking male interest, since this whole space is just dudes, okay? But since Chris and I aren't drowning in funds from little projects, we can't promote our message in a way that is effective in the way that those people can, right? Like, I'm going to keep this asymmetric, but when you see me have a thing, you're going to see the thing fucking everywhere. Believe, everywhere. Every fucking where you turn, you're going to see the thing, because I'll have a reason to invest resources in it, because resources will come back. So your 3 options. You're tired of people getting scammed? Call your regulator. They're out of dudes and they don't give a fuck about what you're talking about. They don't have time for that shit. 2, advertise like me and Chris did. You're probably going to do a worse job. No one's going to listen to you. It ain't going to work. It didn't work for the guy that fired fuck Madoff up. It ain't going to work for you. Or 3, outcompete them with better projects and get that people's money into something that they're not going to get fucking scammed on. That thing actually works. So what you should be asking for is real teams building real things that really matter and getting people's money into those things instead of the fucking scams, because that actually works and the other 2 things do not. And if you guys have some other fucking way to prevent people from getting scammed, let me know about it, and then tell me why you haven't done it to timeshares, because they're fucking scams and their billboards are all up and down I-95. So
timeshares are definitely scams. That's what I will say to that.
Try and talk your family out of buying one sometime and watch them buy.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that business is super scammy. It's super.
Yeah, they're good at what they do, man. You almost might buy when they put you in that pressure cooker. They put you in the fucking boiler room. Ooh, boy.
I have one last thing if you want to talk about it. If you want
I like last things, man. We're on last things.
We had like 10. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
I don't mind. I'll do last things until the
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to repeat what you said, and you can either say, yeah, I was in a bad mood, or you can make the case for it. What you said was this: recursion ain't funny or even that useful.
Yeah, I think recursion's garbage.
Oh, man, I can't believe you say that. Recursion is like so important. Make your case. Explain to people why recursion is like not useful, because I think you're dead wrong about this.
All right. So there are certain tools of thinking which are useful, and I guess tautologically all of them are useful, or we wouldn't call them tools. And for some reason, developers find humor in recursion, and all recursion means is that a thing happens, and then the same thing happens inside itself, and then the same thing happens inside itself. And it's like an onion. So for instance, the new GNU operating system stands for GNU is not Linux. It's self-referential. It's recursive. But if you notice, it's not actually funny, and it's not actually interesting. It's a stupid thing that no one thinks is funny, which is the reason you never see it on any comedy stage anywhere or on television at all. But you do see in the occasional Dilbert comic, or you do see in the occasional Larson Far Side comic, because nerds and developers read those things. And so they think that this one rare thing that you use in programming, where you write a thing and it does it and then it loops and it keeps doing it and keeps doing it and keeps doing it until the counter ticks and then it stops. I don't find that exciting. And I'll tell you why I don't find that exciting. All it is the same thing over and over and over again with a counter on the outside. So what I like to do to make it easy to understand and thus less exciting is just visualize the counter. Okay. So recursion becomes uninteresting when you realize that there's this little thing next to it just counting the levels. Richard said he's cool because he's cool. Richard said he's cool because he's cool. Richard said he's cool because he's cool. All right, 3 or 4, great. And so fucking what?
You're okay. So your definition of recursion is not my definition of recursion. What is that called? Okay. What is that? We learned this the other day. There's this I did in the channel. There's a theory for that all arguments come from definitions. Recursion in the computer science.
Yeah, that was me. That was me. It's called Lane's law.
There you go. Yeah, your definition of recursion is not.
You want me to tell them what Lane's law is?
You know, I mean, you can tell. Yeah, absolutely. I would like to know.
On the internet is about a word and devolves about arguing about a word.
On the internet,
and arguably
probably would work.
And arguably, any time the argument becomes about a word, it is arguably over.
Yes.
And that's the recursive. Notice the recursive endpoint that the nerdy guy put there, using the word arguably over, and then you would argue that that's not arguably over. You see the recursion
there? The definition, yes.
He's a developer as well. Lane is a software developer, and who knew?
Yeah, it's okay. So that is the strict computer science definition. Recursion outside of computer science generally includes a concept of like repeated processes, which is what would define the human brain.
That's habit.
No, it's well, fine, because you're a human being, but like
if it's not self-referential, if it's not self-referential, it is not recursive.
It's
repetitive and recursive are fucking.
There's no value in this discussion because, like, I mean, if you want to, we can have it.
All right, well, tell me the thing that you think is cool. So I've explained why I think recursion's not cool.
Recursion in like the
repetition is good, I think.
Well, recursion in the non-jargon sense generally applies to like applying the thought as many times as it can over a given situation, and like that is what humans do. Like create a model. Okay, I don't know. Like you go to a fucking like so.
You're describing analogy, by the way, just so you know where this goes.
Describing. I'm sorry.
What you're going to describe in the next second is going to be analogy, and then you're going to find internal discongruence when you discover it.
Let me share you the story. Maybe you're right. I have no fucking. My interest level in this went down significantly after I decided what definition using. I was at Dunkin' Donuts the other day, and there was like a sign on there that said in this. It was really funny, but it was like, "This cashier is not working. Please use the other one." And like it was completely ambiguous.
The other one said.
No, I mean, in the mind of the woman who wrote it, like maybe I don't think English was her second language. I think that she was probably like not like retarded exactly, but mentally not as adept. And she hadn't done the recursive step of asking what the next person would consider the one to be. And the one was ambiguous, and the whole thing kind of didn't make sense. It was kind of cute. It was nice. I have no idea what the fuck she was trying to express, but she put a sign there that's saying completely ambiguous thing that everyone just kind of figured meant that they should go right as opposed to left, which is probably what she wanted to express, just go right. But yeah,
I have no idea what this has to do with repetition.
Because she wasn't able to apply the process after her own like solipsism into the world of the next guy, the same exact process over the mind of the person who would walk in thereafter. I mean, that's
called empathy.
Sure. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, these are the models of the universe that humans create. Like, so the ability that you have to extrapolate processes. This is so stupid. I don't even care about this anymore. But extract processes over the risk and the unknowns of the universe to arrive at better predictions and better outcomes is in fact what makes you like an efficiency as a human being.
That's what an analogy is. No, it's fine.
Okay.
So what you just described.
How do you spell that? How do you spell that? Analogy?
Yeah. So modeling.
Analogy. No, that's not. How do you spell it?
Yeah. Anal Augie. Anal OGY.
Oh, analogy.
Yeah. Anal OGY.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that how you spell it?
Am I missing something here? Because analogy is not pronounced analogy.
Is it fucking ANOLOGY?
Okay, that's probably where we're all here. Let's try to O. That's okay. There you go. Comparison between things, typically the purpose of explanation. I don't know if that's I've never seen this word, so I can't evaluate it.
It's just
It's without the
modeling.
A.
It says these things have this relationship, and oh, look, these other things have that relationship. And so we don't care what the things are, we care what the relationship is. So it's just a formula. You can stick different numbers into it.
Yeah,
So all an analogy is a formula for shit that's not numbers.
Yeah, but the recursion is the application of the same process. So like that would be the difference between that and knowledge analogy.
Yeah. Analogies are how you take your understanding here and export it to the next thing.
Yeah, I thought that would be more. I thought that would be more interesting if you had like my definition of recursive. Okay. But there's just no reasonable reason.
Mine is the right one, Chris. Fucking, I'm right. Me right. All right.
All right. I'm out of stuff. I'm already like an hour over my fucking time. You always do this.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's fun. So listen, my hope for you
is to assume your values. Yeah, at the expense of everybody else that I deal with. Yeah, no, it's
Fuck my values. Fuck my values. Look, I've paid dearly to do this shit from other people, right? There's the best seminar in the world. The best seminar in the world that you can go to currently is called Date with Destiny. It's Tony Robbins' event. It's like $3,000 to $5,000.
Tony Robbins guy. There's a caricature of people that I now put you in because of that. I hate to tell you. Like a self-help guy. You should have a notepad and you sit there and take notes in like the Tony Robbins event.
No, because that when you go to an event, you're going to get ultra psychotic performance people, which I'm one of, and you're going to get ultra hippie jerk offs, and you're going to get both, right? Just like my personality. I attract libertarian psychos that have very little empathy and little social skills. And I, for some reason, attract artsy, vegetarian, caring people. I don't fucking know why, but it happens, right? So Tony, do you want to hear about this fucking best event in the world, or do you want to talk about shit?
No, I don't care. You tell me. Either one. Make it. Yeah.
Okay. So Date with Destiny is called Date with Destiny because it's where you're supposed to figure out where you want to go with your life and who you need to become to get there and what you need to focus on to get there and who you need to have in your life to get there and what you need to do with your body and what kind of emotions do you need to have. And what you'll find is everyone has a different primary mode of operation. Some people, like you, are in thrill seeker mode and they want to find novelty and they want to find interesting and they're willing to be ostracized and they're willing to be looked at funny, but it's worth it for them because they want to do that. Most people don't live there. So you could take that personality and call it adventure seeking. And in the Tony Robbins system of human needs, that person values variety above significance, above certainty, above connection. But these things all fight for first place. So other people care about certainty. They don't want to take risks. They don't want to go out there. They don't want to speak loudly. They might wear a hoodie over their head so people aren't looking at them and they don't feel like they're being judged. Those people are interested in certainty. There are other people that are interested in connection. They want to love you, hear about you, understand what's going on in your life, share with you, be with you, like go through things with you. And then there's people that are significance oriented. They'll dress like fruits. They'll want the best of everything and tell you why it's the best, right? And they'll steal significance from you by showing you like, it's got to be my way, right? And then they like usually works the negative because the more you try and steal significance, the more people punish you by removing connection, right? So significance and connection fight each other and variety and certainty fight each other. Now in his system, which I don't believe is accurate, and I think I've come up with a better one, he says the final two needs are not the needs of the personality, but the needs of the spirit and their growth and contribution. And the more time that you spend in growth and contribution, the better you'll end up in all those other ones. So why am I telling you all this? Because you don't need to use my value system for shit. And when you go to Date with Destiny, Tony ain't going to tell you what you should do with your life. He's going to tell you, I'm not your guru. And his Netflix show is called I'm Not Your Guru. And if you go to his event, he is not going to tell you what to do. But he is going to give you a format to decide for yourself what you want out of your own life. And so you get a little piece of paper and you write, my ultimate destiny. What's important to me is this. And in order to get there, I need to have these emotions in this order. And then you might find out that maybe variety is not doing it for you. Maybe you need to be a little smarter. Maybe you need to put a little more time into another thing. And you design your own life. And then you walk around and chanting and saying the same thing over and over again to try and get it to be an easy thing for your brain to do, you know, nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. Nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. Nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. And then if you chant that shit for enough hours, like a song that gets stuck in your head, the next time you're eating something, you're like, hey, you know what? Nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. Now I didn't like ingrain that one, but I've ingrained other ones. Like if I can't, I must, which is another Tony one. And it means like, oh, you know, this is the last rep. All right, well, that's where all the growth comes from, the last rep. So this is the one that matters. I did all those other ones to get to this one, right? I'm fucking tired. You know, I don't want to keep working. Well, then I have to, which means my schedule's all fucked up. But so my point is, you can design for yourself the life that you want to have and decide how you need to spend your time to get there. And I know for me that social media will not get me where I want to go. The same reason it didn't get Peter Thiel, the same reason it didn't get Bill Gates. Now he'll come out with a Gates notes at the end of the year about the books he read, and he's reading a lot more books than me. So I'm sitting here giving my knowledge to other people and letting my focus be controlled by other people's questions and starving myself of the excellent content, excellent material that I could be used to be making my life better. Now I've enriched myself enough that I have a lot to give at this point in my life, but that doesn't mean I couldn't take a break, take a year off, refine my fucking ideas, make them more digestible, put them in formats where more people see them, you know, make content that's worthy of the value of the ideas. My content has a ton of amazing ideas in the world's shittiest, hard to read format because it's like a confusing word salad like outline. If you like outlines and you like shit that you just want to do, great, it's going to work for you. But if you need a narrative and you need a story and you need me to sell you on doing it, it needs a lot of like filler. So my point is, you can get what you want out of your life when you decide what it is. And the fact that you don't know what you really want out of your life and you're okay with whatever shows up means you're not living up to your potential. So don't take my fucking word for it. Don't take your parents' words for it. You take your own fucking word for it, or pay your $3 or $5 grand and go to fucking Date with Destiny. They happen in Florida all the time. Homeboy lives in West Palm Beach. Go fucking look it up. It'll be the best $3 or $5 grand you ever spent.
I outright reject these self-help people.
Go watch it on Netflix. Go watch it on Netflix.
It's like a codification
it's a live Date with Destiny.
It's like this manifestation of like the illusion of power. Like that's what people go there for. I feel like.
So do you disbelieve basic training? Do you not believe in basic training for the armed services?
It exists. I don't know. I don't know how to like answer that. Like,
right. So training works, right?
There, right?
So training works. Okay, so training works. So what makes you think emotions aren't trainable? Like, what makes you think performance isn't trainable? It's just another skill. It's like singing. It's like when I go into a nightclub, I meet people.
What do the stats show?
Like,
what do the stats show? What are the actual like objective results of this? Like, who's doing that peer-reviewed, independent, quantitative work?
Look, Tony's not the only guy doing it. Jordan Peterson does it too. Jordan Peterson has a self-authoring program, which you can also go take. Getting your head out of your ass isn't magic. Like, it's not magic to pull your head out of your ass. Like, it's not. You just have to accept some advice.
These guys offer extraordinary claims, and like, what's more likely is that they're selling people on like hope, or that they're actually delivering. And if there's not like if it actually works, then why does it cost $3 to $5 grand? Wouldn't there be a more like science-based approach?
Because I can explain why. I can explain that part. One, Tony likes to be rich.
Okay,
Tony likes to be rich.
Yeah, okay. That's a good answer. I'll take that.
Yeah, you can charge a lot more for in-person than you can charge for recorded.
Yeah.
So if you look at, musicians all make their money by doing in-person shows. And when you're living in a peak state as an example to other people, it forces you to be in a peak state. So if you're normally like a sad, depressed kind of dude, you get to live the dream and live the best you can live and set an example for other people in public. Like, I'm a better person now speaking to you with a forceful tone and total awareness of everything than I am in self-doubt and self-punishment, thinking about all the things I should do that I'm not. So I'm a better person trying to help you than I am by myself alone. And so from his perspective, he's a better person on stage talking about stuff that nobody knows better than he does, helping people achieve their dreams. That's the best he can be for himself. So it pays really well, and it makes him be a better person for that period of time until he's off stage and, the sadness kicks in or whatever.
You would have us believe, and it was probably true, I don't know, that you have achieved financial success.
No, I'm poor, dog. I'm poor.
Are you?
No.
I didn't think so.
Talking about it. I'd have a day job. I'd troll less on Twitter.
So what are you taking out of this ICO for yourself?
God, I don't know. Money, I guess.
Well, fine, but like how much and why? Like, let me hear that narrative.
Well, I don't know. I should make a few million on it. Maybe I'll make
Okay.
5, 10 million. I
Yeah.
haven't really figured it out yet.
Yeah. You got to work
And
on that
then
narrative. I mean, like, I don't begrudge people at this point for
what do
these.
what magically good answer do you think any business person will give you?
It's especially hard for you
You
because
sell
you're
fasteners?
already.
What are you, a piece of shit fastener
No,
salesman?
I mean, here's the thing though, is like you're offering like a benevolence-based package, and you yourself are in a position not to need money. So like it's a hard pitch, I think.
Why do I? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's basically jealousy, I guess. I see idiots doing the wrong things in bad ways, getting outsized returns, and it pisses me off and makes me jealous. So I would say it's more jealousy than
It's,
financial need or philanthropy. Like I'm
well,
just
it's
pissed off.
horrible.
Like I don't
How does
like
that
seeing
work for you?
companies make so much money. It makes me angry. Like I really get upset every time I see another IC. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh,
People doing the wrong thing make millions of dollars. Well, I know better things to do. Why not me? And if more
that's a
people
creative
thought like I
one. That's
did,
the
the
first
world
time
would.
I've heard of that. I would not take that away
Oh,
from
come
you.
on. Come on. Fuck you. You don't feel that jealousy, dude?
I don't need money like you do, Richard. I don't give a fuck about money. That's what I've learned from Bitcoin.
It's not about the money. I wouldn't even
Yes, it
use it.
is. But
No,
that's where like
if I have more money, I'm not even going to
why
use
would
it.
you get jealous if it wasn't about the money?
I don't know. Why do you get jealous
I'm
when
not
you
jealous.
okay, have you
If
been
you make a bunch of
on
money, I'd be very happy for you. At this point, I don't give a fuck.
it's
Like
not about
I
the money, dude. It's
uh,
not about the money.
well,
Listen,
it sounds like it is though, Richard, because like
no, it's
otherwise you wouldn't
not.
be crowdfunding.
It's not. Have
It's
you
okay
ever
to
been on
be.
Dan? Have you ever? Yeah, I'm gonna feel really bad about liking money. I'm gonna cry myself to sleep now. I'm
I
gonna give
mean,
people something that they want, and I'm gonna make the world a better place. That's
I
gonna
think
make
people
me
are.
rich. Why? Why I should give this money away? I'll give it to Chris.
I don't need that money.
What are you fucking talking about? Like, first of all, look, you're doing something that's bad for the world. The two things you're doing bad for the world, separate from having low
According to
standards for
Richard,
yourself. Separate from having low standards from yourself, the two things you're doing bad for the world, you're convincing people that better and worse are so hard to find that even a smart guy like you that knows about different types of IQ tests and has taken them and has achieved some relative success with his life, he can't even figure out what the fucking difference between good and bad is because, hey, we don't know. Maybe after time passed, good would turn into bad and bad would
I
turn
don't
into
believe in
good.
good and
So,
bad. My world is so much
right.
more
Yeah.
nuanced than that. There
It's
is no such thing as good and bad
It's
in my
terrible.
world.
You're the guy that never makes the art because you're too worried thinking about the art's not good enough. It's terrible. Like,
I'm the guy who's
stop.
got like hundreds of videos and like tons of content. I
Well,
make
then
fucking
stop
art every
lying
day.
about what you believe when what you do is the opposite. Stop saying that better and worse can't be known, but then you do the better thing and your shit keeps improving.
My
Like,
content is generally about finding little truths in ways that I can with some degree of confidence, and I express that to people.
I think that you feign stupidity for your own profit. And I think that you feign that you don't know what better and worse is, but secretly you privately are very interested with doing better. But you advertise that you're not.
The asymmetry that Chris Derose has is well known, and he's always
Okay.
at least expressed that is his right to have.
So, Tony Robbins stuff. This guy has had his own brand as his own name as his own brand for 30 plus years. And everyone, when they meet him, is looking for the chink in the armor, the crack. What a piece of shit this guy really is. Maybe he's like one of those politicians or preachers that's diddling kids. Maybe he's got some drug addiction. Maybe he's a fucking scumbag. Everyone, when they meet him, is looking to demolish the guy. For the same reason that if you were in a room and met a guy with an ICO, as I have been, you're like, this fucking idiot. He's not even smart. What a dumb thing, right? Or when you go on Dan Bilzerian's fucking Instagram, you're like, oh my God, I am a loser. This guy's got a jet, firearms collection, stronger, faster, better looking, pretty funny, pretty honest. Yeah, this guy's actually, this guy makes me look like a bitch. If you don't feel motivated by people living life at a higher level than you, you're broken. That's your problem, hippie guy.
I don't consider that a higher level. I just don't. I think it's great that people do it, but it's just not. I don't like being better than.
How does that make
really
you better? How does it make you better?
I don't want to live a life where I'm better than anybody. I want to live a life where I'm average. Honestly, like I need to enjoy my own self.
How do you have libertarian followers? Like, how are the majority of your viewers libertarian?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think that they are.
Because what you're promoting is the absolute opposite of personal excellence and libertarianism and self-reliance.
No, it's about embracing.
You're harming, you're a leech upon the society that you are around. You should be trying to do something good.
I think it's about accepting like your own self, and then like finding lately mostly. Well, no, finding ways of reproducing yourself that
Don't
are
accept
able to. Yeah.
yourself. Build yourself. Choose yourself. Don't fall into the self that showed up. Don't fall into the self that was the first thing you did in the day. Notice I haven't been very much on Telegram today because luckily enough, I didn't start the bad habit, so I'm not continuing the bad habit.
That's not your own thing. I don't seem to have like that work schedule. You're
You've got
big on
finite
that.
time. You've got finite time. Think about all the
If you
things you
saw
can
all the
do.
shit I
Why
do,
don't you make a good ICO? Go make a good ICO. They're giving out free money. You're going to let all the free money go to scumbags? Why don't you go get some of the free money and do something good?
The truth is with an ICO, you're monetizing your social capital, and you only get to do that like once, twice tops, unless you're Dan Lambert.
Oh yeah.
Some people seem to be able to do it more than
Moogie
once.
Woogie and Vitalik are having a problem with lack of social capital. Are you kidding? Like the thing you're describing has
There's a
never
handful
happened.
of people. There's a
One
handful
person
of
has
people
got
that are
burnt,
doing it.
Danny Brewster, and people don't even mind him. Okay.
I love Danny.
One person got burnt.
Well, Danny kind of realized what happened, I think, and realized that it wasn't like in line with his own like ethos. I think I could be wrong, but that's what I see in Danny.
Every time you convince people to not do an ICO because it's evil, you're helping the scammers that don't fall for those appeals to niceness get more people's money.
I don't accept that.
When you reverse your advice and say, hey, you're a pretty nice, honest guy. You got a real team that really builds shit. You got something that'll actually make the world a better place. Why don't you go compete for these people's funds instead of giving it to the scumbags? Then you'd be making the world a better place. I shouldn't be the only guy spreading that message.
There's so many ways I can answer that. I'm not even going to do it because I do have like now it's like 9:20. I gotta fucking do some shit. Yeah, I know. Well, it's this fucking hurricane. If it was, it's this hurricane.
One day I'm going to be not fat, and then I'm going to show my six pack on screen. It's going to be beautiful.
You should. You know what? Yeah. You're funny about some things.
I think I had 5 desserts today because of Bitcoin price. Shouldn't eat as a drug, people, because when you're done eating, the problem's still there. So shouldn't do that.
You ever had sex with a man? I see like a little bit of gay in you. That's okay. I don't care.
Are you serious right now? That is so nice of you. You and I think that you and I would like, listen, Chris, I want to get like so close to you. I want to whisper in your ear. I want to have a binaural experience with you, Chris.
I think we just lost the last of our audience. I think that's
Don't call me gay, dude. I hate it when that shit happens. The problem I have with getting called gay is like I don't mind, but if a girl calls me gay, I never have sex with her. So I have like even though I dress very fancy, if I get called gay, it's super hard to get over.
I love it. I think it's great. Don't you realize that when people call you gay, they're just giving you like morality, diversity?
Dude, I've tried everything. I'm like, oh, well, I'll just escalate really quick. Well, I'm going in for the kiss now. It doesn't work. All right, well, then I'll do jealousy plotline. That doesn't work. All right, it's very hard to rotate out of. I think I've done it like maybe twice. I
think you're just not used to like Florida girls, or maybe there's just nobody is but like Florida people. And there's different rules down here. I just don't think people just don't care. It's my experience. I don't know. Like, is Jeffrey Tucker? Is he gay? Do we like everybody thinks he is?
Yeah.
And, like,
it's gotta be.
Well, but I've heard rumors. I heard rumors that he gets the. I agree, but I hear rumors that he gets chicks like left and right, and I don't know if that's total bullshit or not. But I've heard this from multiple sources. So like,
swing both ways, man. I mean, I know gay guys that like plow both ways.
I do too. So like, I don't see how being called gay. Honestly, for anybody who's watching this, you should. What's interesting is you should try being gay, if only to see how your life changes. And the answer you'll probably find is that it doesn't change at all. And that being the case, it's hilarious to me that like there's these diversity claims where like you're going to experience prejudice, because it's the opposite. If people call me gay, I end up with like more like morality in my favor, which is total bullshit. It's just signaling, but like I'll take it. So it's like a net improvement for me. I don't know why people think otherwise.
I have the complete opposite experience. If you're actually gay, the number of nightclubs that you can go to find pre-qualified partners is 10 times less.
Why are you telling people that? Just go. You're always a different person every time you go through a front door. So like, why tell them that? Yes, you are.
If you got enough, everyone knows you, man. Everybody knows me. They know everything, man. Like you run out of clubs, dude. Like you have to open.
I stay out of. Like, well, that's part of it too.
Move countries or some shit.
Yeah, I travel. Like, what the truth? I'm not this guy that goes to the club like every fucking night. Also, it's kind of weird that nobody really. I only say it online because it's fun and it works. But like offline, I don't necessarily do it. I don't necessarily feel compelled to like act gay. I fucking hate guys that are like super fucking feminine. Like if you're gay, that's
I can
totally
do it.
cool.
It's fun. Like I
You
can
can
do a
do it
lot of
better
different
than
styles.
a lot of guys. Yeah, I know. I can't do it. Not only can I not do it, but I hate it when other guys do it. I find it creepy. Like not in you because there's like irony there, but like guys that are doing it
I
that
know
are
what you
like, I'm
mean.
like, it's, you know,
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah.
of like, dude, get the fuck
There's
off.
like sneaky little like white knight dudes that are just trying to sneak the cock in there. Like, I can't believe he talked to you like that. I would never treat you.
Yes, exactly. It's a little of that.
Come to my house and we'll share a bath and some candles.
Like I was raised like not to ever say anything bad about gay people. I don't think there's anything wrong with gay people, but like I'm not going to say it because I can't fucking say it. But like the F word, there's you can be totally gay and not be an F word, and then you can be totally straight and be an F word, and it's entirely defined by like how you act. You know, if you act like a fucking retard, like you're, like, it bothers me. That bothers me.
I don't think there's very much in common with lesbians and gay men at all.
There's
They're
not. I
wildly
agree.
different. And so to even say just like gay is like stupid because they're totally not similar. So if you go
Agreed.
to a gay bar, I've spent a lot of time at gay bars because I used to like hook up three ways. And I figure if you're looking for girls who are already into girls, instead of trying to convert them, you just find ones that are already down for that. And you find out that when you go to a gay club, there's only maybe 2 girls with long hair that are feminine, and then 12 girls that have tank tops, no makeup, shaved head, lots of ear piercings, no tan, no fashion sense whatsoever. And so 80% of gay girls in a gay bar. So a gay bar is 90% guys, and then it's 10% girls. And then of those 10% of girls, 2 of them are the long-haired ones that everyone's trying to get, the feminine ones, and then 8 of the girls are butch, more
18.
masculine types.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so the 8 butch ones, when I would roll in there and try and interact with the only 2 like long hairs, the butch ones get pissed, right? Because what am I? Like they're a guy with smaller muscles and no pecker, and I'm appealing to the same demographic that they are, and I came with a hot girl, and if this girl's into girls, well, I'm already like an advantage. So for my like I have a very, very nuanced understanding of how gay bars work, and I've spent a fair amount of time in them, and my position is that you almost just shouldn't say gay because the problems that lesbians face appear to me to be much different than the problems that gay guys face. And one of them is most of the bars that you want to go to, you're not going to have as much fun. Like you have 8 to 10 times less cool bars that are for your genre. If you're a rock and roll guy, you got your rock and roll bars. If you're a biker guy, you got your biker bars. If you're a techno guy, you got your techno bars. But if you're a gay guy, you got 2 bars and that's it. And maybe if you're in Florida, you've got 6 to 8 bars because San Francisco has the highest gay density and Fort Lauderdale has the second highest gay density. Yeah. So anyway, like if you're not gay, you're going to find your life's a lot easier by being not gay. And you can look at suicide rates, and you can look at number of nightclubs you can go to and have fun, and you can look at recycling of partners. If you're actually gay, you end up banging all the same people that all your friends banged because you just have such a small community.
That's a lagging indicator, Richard. I think things have changed. Like you look at like a lot, like who's the Tosh
Even Florida, fucking Florida guy.
Yeah, that's true.
You do not live in anywhere like a normal place.
Daniel Tosh like seems, I don't know if he's still doing it, but he seemed to like make a big joke out of like whether or not he was gay, and I thought that was hilarious because like for me, that's completely relevant to my life because like that's how.
Why does everyone care?
Nobody cares. Like it doesn't. There's nobody cares. So like, why not make a joke out of it? Because if the truth is, if someone does care, that's a little weirder.
Yeah, it's like, hey, this guy has good fashion sense, disposable income, and lots of sex.
Well, okay. and here's another thing too about America in 2017 is if you're like on top of your weight, like in America, and you like how to look good and you embrace it, like there's that you're soon to be gay. So like I've been milking that up because it's funny, but like it's kind of weird that like
I'm gay then. Is that how it works?
Yeah, watch. You'll see. If you like get kind of hot, just by losing weight, watch it when people assume you're gay. Like it is like a light switch went off. It's really funny.
I get it.
I don't know when that happened.
I get it from the clothes a lot.
Yeah,
it depends on the country too.
There's not a good framework, I think, for vanity in men. It's errant enough to where like that is seemingly like something that generally correlates with gayness.
Gay guys get a lot of stuff right. I mean, like
Agreed. Fully agreed.
Yeah, an easy, if somehow offensive thing to do is assume that gay guys are feminine energy commonly and rarely very masculine, and that gay girls are masculine in energy usually, and sometimes the long hair, like 20%. So, if you look at what gay guys focus on, they focus on personal looks, I would call it vanity, but you know, it's got a negative connotation, but just picture vanity without the negative connotation. They focus on community, social group, design, interiors. So they're focused on aesthetic, right? They want their body to look good. They want their interior to look good. They want to be in the right places. They want to have a good social circle. Those are very associated with feminine traits because those are advantages for the weaker sex, right? You need a stronger social group because you have less raw horsepower. And then on the butch side, you know, you've got more good for fighting, shorter hair, faster, cooler, less time spent on focusing on self and identity and aesthetic, and more time focusing on objective and goal and pushing through and getting and penetrating and doing. And those, you know, like this dimorphism and behavior between males and females is profitable. It prevents us from being over allocated in a certain thing, and we divide our abilities. Just like we have one quarterback on a team, not two quarterbacks. One quarterback works better. This is our CPU that divides labor, and then the things specialize in what they do. This guy's bigger, he's a blocker. This guy's faster, he's a wide receiver, right? And so the same specialization that you get in teams and animals and any group, you'll also get in genders. And people that try and make everything equal are destroying the beauty of the evolved system of specialization. It is beauty and it is effective. And look, the aspen tree just makes clones of itself. And there's other clonal species that just make clones. And they're the vast minority of things on the planet because dimorphism and specialization has outcompeted them. And they have lost the war. And so dimorphism has destroyed equality. Dimorphism, the reason that male and female are different in focus and in size and in behavior and in thought and in voice and in feeling and in their writing and different in every way you could dream, is by design, because we work better as a society through specialization, and we would work less well as a society if we were all clones of each other.
Sounds like, I agree. I mean, this sounds like stuff that I would have liked for you to say, because sometimes things,
maybe you should watch my YouTube channel. I just quoted you my first 2 YouTube videos. Watch my channel, you dick.
It's been a while. I watch so much shit I forget. I've been bad.
My first 2 SJW videos, that's literally like right out of it.
I'm sure I saw them. I have no doubt, but I don't remember. All right, Richard, I got it. That's it. I love our discussions, and we will do more. And I appreciate your time.
Good talk, everybody. So for you guys, not that I care about you, I hate all of you, and I don't want you to go into my Discord channel. But if you want to waste my time and help me do what I shouldn't do with my life, I'm willing to Discord for the next hour. Limited time offer. Act now.
Richard,
gift.
You should respect that I'm not competing for attention on Discord.
Well, let me pump your thing.
Yeah, just exactly. Why don't you take the Discord segment, and I'll take the Telegram segment, and we work together rather than coming at each other's shit, telling everybody they suck.
I will try and give you the maximum number of viewers possible. Everyone.
I don't know if I want that. Let's do a little plug in.
Let me try.
Okay.
Chat, you've already heard that I hate you. I don't see any value in you. I don't make any money on you. And you're the worst thing going on in my life right now, because I should be building cool stuff that people are willing to pay for that makes the world better, instead of educating all you guys for free. You didn't even bother to read that 250K word book. So if you're not going to read the book, why am I flapping my lips at you? Chris cares about you. I don't care. Okay. Chris does care. He cares about what you say. He cares about your polls. He like retasks his entire channel based on what you guys vote and say. So I'm willing to post whatever Chris wants to advertise in my Twitter and in my Discord and in my YouTube chat, because it's the only 3 places I'm aware of that I can pump Chris. The more of you guys that interact with Chris, the less of you interact with me, the freer my time is, the better my life is. I'm ready, Chris.
Weirdest pitches I've ever had, but I'll take it. Yeah, guys, you can reach out to me on Patreon these days. Although the best way to get a hold of me is probably in the Briar Patch. Yeah, go to Telegram's the Briar Patch, BRIAR Patch, PATCH, and there's a group of us there. And if you fit in, you fit in, and if you don't, you try. It's okay.
Can I send them a link?
Yeah.
How do I send them a link? Because they're not going to type that shit. They're lazy. Chat, you're lazy as fuck. You guys don't do anything.
Yeah, it's t.me/Briar Patch.
All right. Well, make sure it's right, because I'm not smart enough to find a link.
It is. It's https://t.me/Briar Patch. And that's that.
All right. So everybody go follow Chris. He's Derose on Twitter. Sign up to his Patreon, give him money. He makes cool content. Follow his advice on SJW shit. Stop being an SJW. Or follow my advice. Equality lost to dimorphism. Specialization is win. What else? He's got a YouTube channel. It's
they'll figure it out.
Derose 36.
I think everybody knows who I am. Just watching this, fucking at least seen our prior video, if nothing else. All right, I gotta go.
I'm glad you survived through the hurricane, man. It's good seeing you.
Me too. I'm very lucky for that, actually. Thanks very much, Richard.
Night, man.
You're the best. Later, bud.
Later, bro.